very close to a negotiated agreement, but have reached an impasse, and that it is Mr. Williams' desire to enter a non-negotiated plea. Is that correct? Am I misinformed? All right.
Oh man, non-negotiated plea deal. Let's see what they asking for. Oh boy. What's good, DeMarcus? I literally just got the internet working.
All right, we can recess.
I ain't have time to prep or nothing. I was over here getting ready to do a live later on, and then I got a message on Instagram. They said, Mo, they about to start the trial. I'm like, shit, let me go ahead and set this damn live stream up real quick. So here we are right now. They just took a quick recess. It doesn't look like the state and Jeffrey came up with an agreement on the plea. So what the judge just said, it sounded like they were doing a non-negotiated plea, pretty much them coming out and saying, hey, this is the type of plea deal that we would like, and we're going to see where it goes from there. The other two gentlemen, Yak Gotti, that's Diamante Kendrick, and then Shannon Stillwell, both of them said, forget the plea deal. They're taking it to trial. So what we're about to see is if Young Thug presents a plea, if the state will allow that plea. But I mean, it's a plea deal. So that means whatever this deal is, he's pleading guilty. So we're going to see. That's where we at. And they just took a quick recess because it doesn't look like they were sure if this is what they wanted to do or not. Or I don't know what's going on. What's up, Aisha, Tamika? What's going on? I literally just turned the live on. Damn, come on, man. This is saying. What y'all think? Thugger taking a plea or Thugger gonna thug it out? X.com. Now they're saying that that Nut is in here. Donovan Nut, his family is in here. So I guess Young Thug's family just entered the courtroom too. So I guess they're about to see if Thug can if Thug's gonna take a plea or not. Am I passing out candy? Hell no. My front door is locked. My lights are off. Kids, no, don't come around here. All right. So it says breaking news. Young Thug ended the plea negotiations with the state and was about to enter a non-negotiated plea. He needs a moment in private to think it over. So we can have an understanding. A non-negotiated plea is when a defendant enters a plea without negotiating an agreement with the prosecutor. In a non-negotiated plea, both the defense and the prosecutor present their arguments to the judge at a sentencing hearing, and the judge decides the sentence. So pretty much, it looks like this will run it back here. They're going to present something, then the prosecutors will go against it, and we'll see if the state will accept it.
And Mr. Williams were very close to a negotiated agreement, but have reached an impasse, and that it is Mr. Williams' desire to enter a non-negotiated plea. Is that correct? Am I misinformed?
Moment, please.
All right.
What's up, Rashonda? So that's that. I guarantee he's probably over there thinking, he's like, man, if the two alleged shooters are up there, they ain't taking no plea. I got song talk about taking the trial. We don't like rats. I'm sure he's thinking, what about my street cred when I get out? Is it gonna be a little bit different than Gunner? You the top dog. So if you take this plea and you leave your people out there, at the end of the day, no one's really gonna care. In the beginning, they might say some stuff, but after a couple months, people start back working with Young Thug. But I wonder. So my thing is, if the state doesn't have any evidence and the defense is winning, why would he negotiate a plea deal? Why would he even enter a non-negotiated plea deal if they think that they can beat it? Unless his deal is like, all right, I'll plead guilty to this, and saying, y'all let me go to a halfway house. But for them to be putting in a non-negotiated plea, they must know the state has something in this case might not be as winnable as possible. Maybe when there was 15 people up there, all right, cool. We got 15 co-defendants. Everything can get thrown off. But when it gets singled down to just you and the two alleged dudes that got murders, oh man, that's just gonna be hard to fight. Because all they got to do is get one of them. All they got to do is get one of them out of the two shooters, find them guilty or something. As long as it's done up under YSL, like everyone else's plea, yeah, I did this, I did the drugs up under YSL. That's what Thug is in here for. Thug isn't in here for a murder or anything. So anyone that's found guilty is linked to the RICO. Fuck that. No, it's some crazy stuff, but I am not a lawyer. Make that clear. Let me see. All right, we ain't got that right now. We'll go through the rest of the tweets. So a non-negotiated plea means the judge decides the sentence, not the state. That's what we're saying. They'll come in and then the judge will hear both sides. Young Thug's family has entered the courtroom, 345 court. Yak Gotti officially rejected the state's current plea offers and intends to continue to forward with trial. Only rumors about the status of Thug and Shannon, but we find out Shannon has also rejected his last offer and is ready to go to trial. So, I mean, it might be Halloween. Thug trying to go home for Halloween. We knew Gunna went home for Christmas last year. Thug trying to go home for Halloween. Some wild times we live in.
And Mr. Williams were very.
Oh man, the hell. All right, if you Young Thug, you got the two shooters that is about to take the trial. If you putting in your non-negotiated plea, how many years you asking for? You got time served for 2. What you asking for? Maybe 5 years, and you only got to serve like another year. And then there was another one. Hold on. So it said 7 minutes ago. Young Thug was close to a negotiated deal in the YSL RICO case, judge says, but the understanding was that he was instead ready to take a non-negotiated plea because there was an impasse. Dramatic moment as Thug and his lawyers were asked if that was correct. No answer. Cliffhanger. They have reached an impasse with the state on a negotiated plea with Young Thug, but he might enter a non-negotiated plea, recess to talk it over. Young Thug's sister has just entered. I think we have a plea. Donovan Nutt Thomas, his parents arrived at the YSL trial to be in the courthouse. All right, man. It looked like it's getting pretty serious. The state wouldn't have told them to come up here unless they knew, but the judge has seemed pretty lenient. The judge seemed pretty lenient with, all right, 20 years, serve 7, get on out of here. 20 years, serve 9, get on out of here. So I could see her probably doing Thug probably like 5, 6 years, and then you probably only got what, maybe 6 more months to do. I'm asking for the minimum. You know what? I'm going in there. I'm gonna tell the judge straight up. When the judge come back, I don't want no plea. I want to take it to trial with my dogs. You know, I'm going to trial. We here now. I done bought all these suits. We going to trial. I ain't never seen Young Thug truly humbled up on a guy like this.
Am I misinformed?
He's undecisive. But shit, this is a big decision here. But at the end of the day, I'm a millionaire. My dogs just gonna have to understand, man. I gotta get up out of here. I gotta get out this jam. Y'all facing M's. Maybe I did tell y'all to do it. Maybe I didn't tell y'all to do it. But if I get out, I got M's. I'm gonna make sure y'all straight. Now, when people say they're gonna make sure you straight when you get locked up, they usually only last for maybe a year, 2 years. Oh, man. Yeah, so right now we'll just wait. We'll figure it out. Let's see if we got any movement. Nah. Rapper Gotti rejects his plea because I think he got. All right, here we go. Atlanta, Georgia rapper Gotti has rejected a plea deal in the ongoing Young Thug trial. Unlike several other co-defendants who took deals in this historically long trial, Doug Weinstein, Gotti's attorney, said that his client fully intends to take this to the jury and get our not guilty verdicts and go home. Gotti, whose real name is Diamante Kendrick, is a rapper signed to Young Thug's record label YSL. He's facing 12 counts, including charges related to racketeering, murder, guns, drugs, street gang. I see why they taking him, man. They probably wasn't offering them nothing, but that's because Diamante Kendrick, Yak Gotti, and Shannon, they were supposed to be the ones in the vehicle. So the guy Nut that they said, Donovan Nut, that his family's coming in, Yak Gotti and Shannon Stillwell were supposed to be the two in the car who YSL hoodie Woody told on back in the day. So let me see. Come on, TikTok. Give me what we looking for. Woody. Here's who's taking the plea. So we got Rod yesterday. We got the other Quay. Well, we got both Quays back-to-back days. So Lil Rod pled guilty to one count of violating Georgia's racketeering, which Young Thug is only trial. I mean, the only one he's up under is the racketeering. He previously convicted of a 2019 murder, already serving a life sentence. Got another 10 years, but that's run concurrently. Marquavius Huey pled guilty to one count of the RICO, which Young Thug is up under, accepted a reduced sentence on charges, robbery and firearms possession. The robbery charge was reduced to armed robbery. It was reduced from armed robbery to robbery. Then we had the other Quay on, what's today? Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. He accepted a plea deal, guilty to one count of conspiracy of attempting to violate the RICO. So all of the RICO acts is what everyone pled guilty to. No, I'm not about to go back through all of these videos, try to find it. Young Thug's about to accept the worst plea deal ever. Well, I mean, it depends. It depends. It looks like they were trying to give him 100. And I think if Thug can get anything under, I think anything under 20 is good for him. I'm thinking they might give him around 10 and just, you know, he got to serve like maybe a year, 2 more years. But the state, whatever the state was offering, it was some years for them to turn it down and try to enter their own, because that's going to leave it up to the judge. And if it goes to the judge, Young Thug presents his side with all these plea deals that we just recently got, and the prosecution says this is this and this is this. This is why they pled guilty. We know this, and we entered this information in yesterday on those 2 plea deals. I don't know. The judge might say, I don't know, man. The judge might give him like 20, maybe 20, maybe 30. But then, because if he takes this deal before these 2 go, that'd be good. Because if these 2 get stuck with this murder, then if Young Thug already took his plea, he's good. So that's what's in his, you know what I mean? That's what's in Thug's favor. If he can take a plea before these 2 go to trial, and if they get found guilty, I already got my plea, so that murder won't be on me. That shit will be on them. But then again, I don't know. I don't even know how RICO works. Like if you plead guilty to that stuff, but these dudes get this murder and you're still part of that RICO that you plead to. But I think that'll just remove you from the whole RICO. I don't know. But that's my whole thing though, Tracy. People keep saying Thug was winning. Well, if Thug was winning, why won't he just take this to trial and not plead guilty? You see what I'm saying? If I'm winning, I'm not going to plead guilty. I don't want none of this on me. You see what I'm saying? If we're doing that good, why would I plead guilty when I'll just do another year or 6 months, 7 months, however long this trial take, I get done with it. Boom, I wipe my hands clean. I don't have any of this on me. No, man. I'm just not taking if I think that we can beat this, and I'm not taking no plea. Yeah, this non-negotiated is going to go to the judge, but the defense and the prosecution both get to present, hey, this is non-negotiated here, but this is why we believe we should get it. Then the prosecution say this is why we believe they shouldn't get it, and then the judge will decide off of that. I mean, I don't know, man. I ain't never been in no RICO. All my cases were me individually, and I paid my lawyers. Fuck that.
I don't recall what I said. I don't.
Did you kill Donovan Thomas, Mr.
Huh?
Copeland? Did you kill Donovan Thomas, Mr. Copeland?
Huh?
Did you kill Donovan Thomas? You shake.
So here goes when they were asking Woody. When they were asking Woody about Donovan Thomas.
I don't recall what I said. I don't.
Did you kill Donovan Thomas, Mr.
Huh?
Copeland? Did you kill Donovan Thomas, Mr. Copeland?
Huh?
Did you kill Donovan Thomas? You shaking your head? Is that a no?
No.
Okay, then. And is that what you went down there to tell Detective Thorpe back on January 11, 2015?
See, Woody was on the stand. He trying to take back his telling because he used to go to the interrogation room. He used to call the police and say, hey, let me come and talk to y'all. So he told them about who killed Donovan Nutt. And he was saying that it was Yak Gotti and SB, the two that just turned down their plea deal. And he said he was in the vehicle with Young Thug when they pulled up and they got in the car and told him that they handled the Donovan Nutt situation. And then they all went. And this is all what Woody was saying in an interrogation room. So, on the stand, he's trying to say he was lying. But after the shooting, Young Thug and them met up. They were at McDonald's. They waited for Yak Gotti and SB to come over here. They got in the car and told them what happened. From there, they all went to Young Thug's apartment. And from there, Young Thug booked them flights to go down to Miami after the killing of Donovan Thomas. What up, Eric?
What?
Is that what you went down there to tell Detective Thorpe, that you did not kill Donovan Thomas?
I don't understand. I don't know if this is a trick question.
When you went down there, did you go down there to tell Detective Thorpe where you were the entire day and that you did not kill Donovan Thomas?
Melvin, can I answer that?
Yeah, you need to answer that.
I don't know how to answer that.
Do you need to talk to Mr. Melnick?
No, I don't know if it's a trick question that she asked me.
All right.
I'm not understanding.
Hang on. Let's break. We're gonna need to break in just a few minutes. Anyway, so let's break now. If you need to talk to Mr. Melnick in the interim, you can do that. And then we'll come back after lunch and you can answer that question depending upon what you and Mr. Melnick decide.
See, so Woody was up there. They were using that interrogation on him. Like, why'd you tell the police officers what you did the whole day to confirm that you weren't there? But then you told them that Yak Gotti and Shannon, they did it, and they came and told you and Young Thug about it. So Woody was on the stand bullshitting, playing around the whole time, acting like I don't recall this shit. But all that stuff, if you have a competent jury, which I'm pretty sure they do, if you're sitting here listening, now you talk about, I don't know, man. We heard you in there telling the police everything, bro. your ass was scared. You even called the police and said, hey man, let me come and talk to y'all. You know what I mean? So it's like the jury isn't going to be 18-year-old rap fans, 19-year-old, you know what I'm saying, fans of young things. It's going to be like older people that they putting up there. But, you know, Doug said he's doing non-negotiated. He's just going to, hey, we're just going to throw it out there. Judge, what you think we should get? That's kind of risky, though. Fuck it at this point, because I'm sure the state was offering some bullshit. The state probably said, look, we'll do 30 years. You serve another, you did 2, you probably serve like 12. You know what I mean? You'll be out in like 10 years. Hell no, man. I wonder what they were offering though, because if he's the head honcho and they were doing 20 and 9, serve 9 years, 20, 11 on probation, they've got to be offering Thug like 15. Whatever they offer, it's got to be higher than whatever the other 2 were. Because the first one we had 20 years, serve 7, 10 years consecutive, concurrently with the life sentence. So he wasn't, or unless he gets his appeal, he'll be able to get out, but he'll have to serve that 10. Appeal on the murder, but he'll still have to do the 10. And then 20 and 9. So the lowest we got is 10 years to serve. Then we got the 9 years with 11 on probation. We got the 7 years with 13 on probation. So Thug is probably going to get, they're probably asking for at least 15 and 10 or fucking 15 and 15. I don't know, man. Hey, Yak Gotti, Shannon, they both say, man, we taking it to trial. All right, we're going to see how this plays out. Let me go back to
All right, well, that is true. I will sustain that objection. So Ms. Hilton during the break formulated into something that is not a compound question.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So let's break until will 1:30 be enough time for everybody?
All right. Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, Mr.
We'll see everybody
Williams,
back.
where are we? Ready to go forward? All right.
here we go.
Coming up here to the podium.
Here we go. Thugga, baby. We want a bond right now.
All right, Sergeant, can you swear in Mr. Williams?
Raise your right hand, you swear firm testimony you give to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's your name, first and last, if you might, spell first and last.
Jeffrey Williams. Jeffrey Williams, Jeffrey Williams.
Damn, we ain't heard Thug's voice in years.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon.
Are you the same Jeffrey Williams indicted in case number? Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
actually, have we all signed the indictment? Or are we going to do that afterwards? Because I don't have a copy of it.
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't believe that we have.
not signed the indictment.
Okay, probably be a good idea to do that.
Does anyone have a copy? Because you don't, okay.
Where's the one we were using yesterday?
We ain't got no copy of the
We'll do
indictment.
that in
We've been
just
here
a
for
minute. You
fucking
can go ahead with
150
the
days.
Colloquy.
And Your Honor, we don't have the waiver form as well. I believe that the court had one.
That right here.
I've got blanks. Y'all filled one out, right?
We have.
Okay.
Oh,
Hey,
they gonna give us
YouTubers,
an ad
you
right
need
in
this
the middle
Chrome
of it. Come on,
I
man.
feel like I just found a Google cheat code. This Chrome extension lets you block.
183572.
Yes.
Okay. And are you
They put Miss Love back in charge.
also known as Young Thug?
Yes.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication?
No.
Is there any medication that you normally take that you have not been given today?
No.
How old are you?
33.
And how far have you gone in school?
9.
Say that one more time.
9.
Okay. Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
All right. Do you understand that you are charged with the following offenses? Conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, participation in criminal street gang activity, the leadership charge, participation in criminal street gang activity, violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act,
We got
3 counts,
Take note.
possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a machine gun. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, they put the machine gun on there?
And do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? And that if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you will continue to receive a jury trial?
Yes.
All right.
Taking it to trial, Thugger.
And have you received this waiver of rights form that I hold in my hand from your attorney and reviewed it with your attorney?
Yes.
All right. And is this your signature on the bottom of this form?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorneys, Mr. Steele and Mr. Adams, about all of the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in indictment 22 SC 183572, including any potential defenses?
Yes.
Do you need additional time to discuss this case with your attorneys?
No.
Are you satisfied with their services?
Yes.
Mr. Steele and Mr. Adams, do you on behalf of Mr. Williams waive a formal reading of this indictment?
Yes, Your Honor. You do.
And do you, Mr. Williams, waive any and all defects in this indictment, including any with respect to your name?
Yes.
Have you been arrested on these charges?
Yes.
The state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you or your attorneys know of any outstanding warrants related to these charges?
Any what?
Outstanding warrants related to any of the charges in the indictment?
No,
No.
I don't believe so either, Your Honor.
Okay, and I'm unaware of any as well, Your Honor.
I am as well.
Thank you. Have your attorneys advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each of the crimes that you are charged with?
Yes.
And each of the charges that you are pleading guilty to?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, with respect to the charges that Mr. Williams faces, count 1 carries a minimum charge of 5 years and a maximum charge of 20 years in prison, or up to a $25,000 fine, or both.
Isn't it a $15,000 fine, because wasn't it the version of the statute in effect at the time, or was that the same for RICO? Was RICO 25?
Yes,
Back-
RICO was
okay.
25.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Count 56 carries a minimum sentence of 5 years in prison, a maximum of 20 years in prison, consecutive to any other sentence, with a fine of $10,000 to $15,000, or both.
Okay.
Count 57 carries a minimum sentence of 5 years in prison and a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Count 58 carries a minimum sentence of 1 and a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Count 59 carries a sentence range of 5 to 30 years in prison.
God.
Count 60 carries a sentence
Hang on,
range.
slow down just a second.
Yeah, slow down. I'm trying to goddamn keep
All right,
up.
and that's for the amount of that drug that was found on 59, 5 to
What up,
30?
Kendall?
That's as a result of the charge itself, I believe,
So right now we got 5
I
to
think that
25 to 25 to
59, Your
21 to
Honor,
10,
Uh-huh.
5 to
Simple
30.
possession of cocaine. I have to look at the indictment to be
I think
sure.
that's 60.
Okay.
Possession of cocaine. Come on, Thugger.
Let me look.
When did all these? When did all these charges get put on here? I thought Thugger was just under conspiracy. In 56, 1 in 56. Where the fuck all these other shits come from?
59 is codeine and
Yes.
60 is cocaine.
59 is codeine,
So,
cocaine for 60, 5 to 30 for codeine.
Your Honor,
That's
it
the
is
YSL
with the
drink.
intent to distribute. So my reading of the statute is that it carries the range of 5 to 30.
okay.
So they did
And
get
Your
the
Honor,
codeine.
also, as I have the indictment in my hand from Ms. Rosser, may I pass it to counsel for Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, get back to count 60. We needed to see how many years that is for the coke. God damn, Thug. I didn't know they were gonna put all this shit. I thought they was leaving this off. He gonna probably get 10.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'll permit time for
ahead.
them to, okay. Count 60 carries a range of 1 to 5 years in prison. Count 61 carries a mandatory 5 years consecutive
Damn, mandatory.
to the underlying felony. Count 62 carries a sentence of 10 years consecutive
Damn, 10.
for a total maximum exposure of 120 years in prison.
Sheesh. So he's
Were
facing
you aware of that, Mr. Williams?
on the max is 120 years. He's probably gonna plea out to like.
Do
15,
you
20.
understand that neither the court nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole or the Department of Corrections or the Board of Pardons and Paroles, and that if you are sentenced to confinement in the Georgia Department of Corrections, no one can guarantee parole?
That's the max though. 120 is the max, but 10 is mandatory and 5 is mandatory.
Yes, ma'am.
Parole.
Your Honor, may I allow Mr. Williams time to finish signing the indictment?
It said minus the 3 life sentences. So that 120 years is the max for all of them together. But there's a mandatory 5 for count 61 and a mandatory 10 for 62. So they'll probably get them, if the lowest, they'll probably do like maybe 8 years, maybe 10. But this is, if he was going to take it to trial that everyone kept saying that they're beating, this nigga was facing 120 years. You're not taking a 120-year chance. Fuck that. These other two, they're facing life for murder. They got to take it to trial. There's no plea. They could probably get.
Your Honor, with permission, may I approach with a member of Mr. Williams' team?
You may.
Thank you.
All right. So all of these counts, the max would be 120 years. Count 1, we got 5 to 20. 56, 5 to 20. That's initially all we thought that Thug was charged with, the RICO and conspiracy to commit acts and gang activity. But then they added on, remember all those guns we were talking about, the feds and shit we're going to pick up? Well, they threw that on there. The codeine, the coke that they had. So we got 5 to 20, 5 to 20, 5 to 20, 1 to 10, 5 to 30, 1 to 5, mandatory 5, mandatory 10, 120 years max. So you're not risking taking this shit to trial when you could potentially get the max on all of these. That's 120 years. And even if you don't get the max on all of them, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 36, 37 would be the minimum, but it wouldn't really be 37 because you'd have to take off that 5. So it'd be 32 minimum. Oh, yeah, man. What up, Young? Let's see. What y'all thinking? 10 years, serve like another 2, 3, get about, and then be on probation? God damn. So it's better to have cocaine than it is, well, it's probably the amount that he had, because codeine is a controlled substance, which is 5 to 30 years. The coke is only 1 to 5
Mr. Williams,
years.
do you understand
You might as well be
that
Pablo.
this is a non-negotiated plea of guilty, and that since your guilty plea is a blind plea or a non-negotiated plea, the state is making a recommendation of sentencing to the court. notwithstanding the fact that this is a blind plea.
So that's just
You
what
understand
they're
that, Mr.
saying,
Williams? Okay.
that they're going to give it to the state and see what the judge.
And Mr. Williams, were you aware of the state's previous offer that was turned down prior to your making this non-negotiated
the
plea?
states.
Yes.
All right. And Your Honor, at this time, the state is making a recommendation of 45 years
Damn!
with 25 to serve in custody, followed by 20 on probation, subject to the special requirements of 1615 for the gang statute.
All right, and do you want to break down for me what your recommended sentence on each count is?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is recommending on count 1, 5 years to serve. Count 56, 20 years to serve consecutively to
Damn!
count 1. Count 57, 5 years of probation to serve consecutively to count 56. Count 58, 10 years of probation to serve concurrently with count 57. Count 59, 5 years of probation to serve concurrently with count
I'm
57
writing it all
and
down. I'll get
58.
you guys. I got you.
Count 60, 5 years of probation concurrent with count 57, 58, and 59. Count 61, 5 years of probation consecutive to count 57. And count 62, 10 years of probation consecutive to count 61.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Williams, did you discuss the state's previous offer with your attorneys?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and so we're all clear that we're talking about the same thing. Can you put what the state's previous offer was on the record for me, please?
I can, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The state's previous offer was a total of 43 years with 20 years, 5 years to serve on count 56, commuted to time served, followed by 15 years on probation. On count 58, the sentence was 10 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to count 56. Count 59 was 3 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to counts 56 and 58. Count 60 was 5 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to counts 56, 58, and 59. Count 61 was 5 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to counts 56, 58, 59, and 60.
Was that the entirety of
No.
what the sentence was?
No, Your Honor,
I mean, I
I'm
know
still
there were
reading.
special conditions, so y'all were
There
going to
are.
null pros,
We,
what, 1
yeah.
and 62?
Yes, as part
Okay.
of the recommended sentence, in exchange for the defendant agreeing to the special conditions that we asked the court to impose, the state was willing to null pros count 1, count 57, and count 62.
Okay, and then all of that consecutive to the probation, that was going to be what we call backloaded, and what were y'all proposing with regard to that, since it was going to follow the probated sentence?
The total sentence
43
was
years.
43 years to serve, with the first 5 years in prison commuted to time served, followed by 15 years on probation, followed by 23 years in prison, which would have been served in confinement, except that if defendant had complied with the special conditions of probation imposed as part of this sentence, the backloaded portion of defendant's sentence would have been commuted. However, should defendant had violated any special condition of probation with the first within the first 15 years of his sentence, his probated sentence would have immediately been revoked, and he would have been required to serve the entire remainder of
3
his
years.
sentence confined to the Georgia Department of Corrections.
All right, so as long as he had successfully completed his 15 years of probation, the 23 years that was going to follow it was going to be commuted to time served as long as his probation was successful. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And the special, would the court like for us to?
No, I was really more interested in the length of sentence and what y'all had. I know you didn't reach agreement, but y'all, that's what the last offer had been with, of course, a bunch of special conditions, which I guess is where the hangup was. I don't know.
Right. Defendant did not want to agree to the special conditions.
All right. Is that
Yeah, I need
basically your
a new
understanding
page.
too, Mr.
Yes, Your
Steele
Honor.
and
It would have
Mr.
been,
Adams?
yes, Your Honor. Mr. Williams would have been released today for 15 years on probation. If he successfully completes that probation, then he would not have to go to custody. If he did not, he'd face probation revocation as well as 23 years, as a court said, backloaded in the Georgia prison system. But we could not come to terms on all the conditions that the district attorney was insisting upon.
Okay. All right.
So they
Thank
were
you.
trying
Go
to get
ahead,
Thug
Ms.
to leave
Love.
today with 15 years probation. The state said you didn't want to accept our shit.
And Mr. Williams, were you aware of that previous offer as well as all of the requirements that that offer would have entailed?
Yes.
Okay. And had you had enough time to discuss that particular offer with your attorneys?
Yes.
All right.
The previous one?
The previous offer.
Yes.
Damn.
Do you understand that the court can impose any sentence authorized by law, including a higher sentence than that recommended by the state, up to the maximum sentence on each charge in this
120
indictment?
years.
Do you understand that, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you enter into a non-negotiated plea, you do not have a right to withdraw your plea once the sentence has been announced?
Yes.
Do you understand that this is a guilty plea which is permanently recorded on your criminal history?
Yes.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including in the federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you are currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked?
Oh, not in the middle of it. Come on, man. Someone give me YouTube Premium.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Do you understand that if you are placed on probation of any kind by this court, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any
I'm going to break it down
governmental
when they get
unit
done. I got to get these numbers
or any
together.
special conditions of probations without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence the court imposes?
Yes, I know. I know.
Do you understand that you are not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you are not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would, and that this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes.
Do you understand that neither the court, your attorney, nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole, and the Department of Corrections or Board of Pardons and Paroles, and that no one can guarantee parole no matter what anyone has told you?
Yes.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect the right to vote, the right to hold public office, the right to serve on a jury, the right to obtain a passport, the right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment. Do you understand that, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or if you use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of up to 1 to 15 years in prison?
Sheesh.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we good. Don't use no guns, Thug. No guns.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the right to that if you continued at trial, rather, you would continue to have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify or to remain silent and not incriminate yourself? Do you understand all of those things?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you are giving up the following rights? The right to a trial by jury. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself.
Yes.
The right to confront witnesses against you.
Yes.
The right to continued assistance of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the continued trial of your case.
Yes.
The right to the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
The right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence.
Yes.
The right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence.
Yes.
The right to have the charges against you proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes.
The right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial. Do you
Yes.
understand?
Yes.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you are in fact guilty?
Yes.
Well, Your Honor, may I interject?
You may.
Your Honor, on count one, which is the racketeering conspiracy count, Mr. Williams is tendering a plea under nolo contendere. As to count 56, which is participation in a criminal street gang activity as being a leader or a supervisor or organizer, Mr. Williams is also tendering a plea to this honorable court as under nolo contendere. The balance of the counts, so he is tendering a guilty plea.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
would the court like to hear from the state or not?
About the NOLO issues?
Yes.
Sure.
Your Honor, the state asked that the court not accept a NOLO plea and require either a guilty plea or a not guilty plea as to these charges.
All right. I'm going to
Damn, they
permit a
ain't playing
NOLO
around.
plea as to counts 1 and 56.
All right. Mr. Williams,
NOLO plea as to counts 1 and 56.
all right. Count 57, participation in criminal street gang activity. How do you plead?
Guilty.
I plead guilty.
As to count 58, violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. How do you plead?
Guilty.
As to count 59, violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act.
Yes.
How do you plead?
Guilty.
As to count 60, violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. How do you plead?
Guilty.
As to count 61, possession of a
Guilty.
firearm during the commission of a felony. How do you plead?
Guilty.
And as to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. How do you plead?
No law.
As to count 56, participation in criminal street gang activity under the leadership charge.
No
How
law.
do you plead?
No law.
I think you didn't ask about count 62.
Guilty.
As to count, thank you, Your Honor. As to count 62, possession of a machine gun. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Damn. So Thug was guilty on
Are
all of this,
you
and y'all said the
pleading
state didn't have nothing.
guilty to the offenses you have indicated because you are in fact guilty of these charges?
Yes.
All right. Are your guilty pleas and your NOLO pleas freely and voluntarily given with the full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have only 4 years from today's date for a felony charge and 12 months from today's date you don't have a misdemeanor charge, but to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness and constitutionality of this guilty plea?
Yes.
Your Honor, also, Do you,
You have
my-
30 days from
I was-
today to file a direct appeal from this guilty plea and until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw the guilty plea, which does not mean it would be granted, but that's the time period, okay?
What's a direct appeal?
Well, you can talk to your attorneys more about it, but it would be up to one of the, like the Court of Appeals, I think is where this one would go. It's just the
And-
time periods.
and Your Honor, the state, in addition to the sentence we are asking that the court to impose,
Okay.
we would also be asking the court to require or to forfeit, have defendant forfeit all of the property that has been
What?
seized and that is currently being held, that was found or recovered or taken from his home after
Dang.
it was searched
Not to
on
mention-
May 9th.
Do you
Not
have
the
any kind of
car.
list of what that property is? I mean, I'm not familiar with what was seized.
And Your Honor, we're
We
not,
d- we
we're not
do,
agreeing.
and that,
Oh, I know, I mean, I assume y'all aren't agreeing to anything.
not
or you
agreeing
would
to that.
We're not.
Present it as a negotiated plea.
we're not. But we do have a list of the
All right.
property
Do you have it
items.
where available right now?
Yes, actually, would the court permit us to send it electronically?
Sure,
Because we
that's fine. And then if that is not imposed as a condition, is it just get litigated as like any forfeiture matter?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it
ci-
would be litigated
it's a
later
s-
on,
It's
yes.
a civil separate filing
Okay.
in this court. It's not related to the criminal.
right.
It's related case, but it's unrelated.
Understood.
And we are sending that to
All
Your
right.
Honor
Thank you.
at this time. And as it relates to the conditions of a conviction under 1615-4, Your Honor, we would ask, or as part of the sentence, defendant would be required to adhere to the requirements, the sentencing requirements of the gang statute, which at least in part require that he not associate with any gang members whatsoever. And I can read the rest of that into the record if the court requires, or I can continue with the factual basis.
All right, and let me ask you, because I know that at least while y'all were negotiating, one of the things that I guess was being negotiated was some exception for, I think, somebody that is contractually obligated on his record label. Is that something that the state would still be in agreement to?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Damn, not even on the record label.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Your Honor, as part of the requirements of 1615-4,
Young Gunner's a gang member. Oh,
Yes.
Lord.
defendant would, one moment, Your Honor.
Damn, Gunner's a gang member.
Under
He's on YSL.
1654, in addition to any other penalty provided by the code section, all sentences imposed under the code section shall require as a special condition of the sentence that the person sentenced shall not knowingly
Slow down
have.
just a tad, because there's a
I
court reporter
apologize.
taking it down. And when we start reading, we read really fast.
They just trying to make
So,
up for
go
this
ahead.
case, ain't they?
This code section shall require as a special condition of the sentence that the person sentenced shall not knowingly have contact of any kind or character with any other member or associate of a criminal street gang, shall not participate in any criminal
21
gang
Savage,
activity,
Little Baby. Damn.
and in cases involving a victim, shall not knowingly have contact of any kind or character with any such victim or any member of any such victim's family or household. So that is, and we've listed in our indictment the victims of the crimes, the overt acts that have been
No.
committed, and under the basic
This
conspiracy
isn't the,
law,
this
those
isn't
are
a
the
deal. This is
victims
just
that
what
we
they're
are
telling the
naming.
state because they didn't want to negotiate.
Your Honor, as this
So,
case
what's the
has
judge got to say?
been tried and would continue to be tried until the state completed its case in chief, the evidence has shown that the defendant, throughout the time between 2013 to 2022, conspired with both indicted through a pattern of racketeering activity. Throughout that time, multiple conspirators, both indicted and unindicted, and including the defendant, have committed overt acts intended to further the enterprise itself. With regard to the defendant, as far back, the evidence has shown, as 2013, the defendant, along with other YSL founding members, Walter Murphy, for one, committed an aggravated assault and armed robbery against a Derek Dotson. The court has heard evidence of that presented through Adrian Bean, who was a co-conspirator in that particular act. The armed robbery of an Archillian Bennett back in 2013. As alleged in the indictment, defendant and unindicted and indicted co-conspirators committed acts to further YSL that included drug sales, aggravated assault, and murder. They used and furthered, rather, this conspiracy by using social media posts and music to assert the violent nature of and the dominance of
Make sure you hit
Young
that like
Slime
button.
Life,
Hit
which
that
is also
subscribe button.
known
New to the
as
channel.
YSL. The defendant is charged with being a leader of the gang YSL, and evidence has been presented by accomplices and co-founders of YSL, Trontavious Stevens and Walter Murphy, and evidence would have been presented, in the words of the defendant himself, that the defendant, as shown by some of his own social media postings, was the founder, one of the founders of YSL, along with Mr. Stevens and Mr. Murphy. YSL formed, according to the evidence that has come out in this trial, in 2012, 2013, under the former version of the name of the gang called Rock Crew, or Raised on Cleveland. The court has heard evidence of the 2014 and 2015 incidents that have involved conflicts between YSL members and IF gang members, that included someone shooting the window of Mr. Williams' car and armed individuals rushing outside during shootings at Club Crew.
The state asking for everything. You didn't want to play. Now they putting everything on the table. They want it all.
Rushed to ensure Mr. Williams' safety. Shootings at Mr. Kelvin Watts committed by members of YSL. Communication with members of YSL after those incidents, and ultimately the murder of Donovan Thomas at the hands of members of YSL.
So that's why they told the family to
The
come.
evidence has shown and will show that on January 10th of 2015, members of YSL drove a car rented by the defendant, a gray Infiniti, and drove past Mr. Thomas as he stood outside of a barber shop congregating with friends, and unloaded an array of bullets on Mr. Thomas, hitting him, his Chevrolet Tahoe, and two other persons in the process. Mr. Thomas died from those bullets. Phone records show that communication was held between Mr. Williams, Mr. Kelvin Treadwell, Mr. Demise McMullen, corroborating accomplice testimony that has been presented in this courtroom regarding what happened, who committed the murder, and what happened to the guns and the vehicles that were used in the murder. After the murder of Donovan Thomas Jr., the members of YSL responsible for the murder and members of YSL who were not responsible for the murder congregated at Mr. Williams' condominium called the Sky House, and they all made plans and later either drove or flew down to Miami. Prior factual acknowledgments by members of YSL include.
So right now, what they're doing, they're just going over all what they would approve. But real quick, Nakima, they did all of this before they got money. What they're going over now, Donovan Nutt, which really put the whole RICO together. This was in 2015. This is like right when him and Rich Homie were first starting off. So they didn't have all the millions that they got now. You may have been a millionaire, but they didn't have all the money that they have now. So right now, Thug did plead guilty to everything except for the RICO and the conspiracy to commit the gang activities. So other than that, he did plead guilty to everything. We'll go over what the state is offering, but this is just them presenting it to the judge. And then it's going to be in the judge's hand, and we'll see what they offer. But the judge can go up or below what they're offering. He's facing 120 years total.
Unrelated to the conflict with members of If Gang, of a Lil Wayne tour bus. That shooting followed the confronting by Atlanta Police Department of members of YSL that drove to the compound where Lil Wayne was making an appearance.
I used to be the cop.
And who drove there with the intent to disrupt and cause harm and to shoot up Lil Wayne's tour bus. Lil Wayne was another artist with whom Mr. Williams was having conflict, according to the testimony that had been presented. Mr. Williams had come out at that time with a mixtape that carried the name of an album that Mr. Carter was set to release and was not able to because his label would not allow that to happen. That caused a contractual or the threat of a lawsuit. It caused Mr. Williams angst. He posted about it. He said derogatory things about the persons who were threatening him with the lawsuit. And as a result, he had to rename his mixtape to something different than what he initially intended. The person who ultimately was convicted of shooting that tour bus up, Jimmy Winfrey, is a person that I believe that recordings have come in regarding jail phone calls, rather, from Mr. Winfrey and members of YSL regarding communication about getting a lawyer. Following the shootings that occurred in 2015, music, social media postings, and other overt acts were committed by Mr. Williams and other members of YSL, taunting members of groups that they considered opposition to YSL, posting of threats of violence by members of YSL against those people. Specifically, the music, Your Honor, contained lyrics such as the following.
Damn. I see the judge giving them.
I rep my
like
life for
15,
real,
20
for
maybe.
slimes, you know I kill. I shoot at your mammy, need to stand down. I up my stamina, take it to trial, get an appeal, take it to trial, pay for that casket. That's just if we whack them. YSL slimy and shady. Watch me whack that bitch, pop them like assist. Glock with the assist. It also consisted of a song wherein Mr. Williams sang or raps the lyrics.
Stand up and
Hey,
look the
this
judge
is
in
that
the eye,
slime
man.
shit,
Don't be acting shy
that
now.
YSL shit. killing 12 shit, fuck a jail shit.
Mm.
I'm in the VIP. I got the pistol on my hip. Fuck the police.
Damn.
You praying that you live. I'm praying that I hit. This is slime shit.
Damn.
100 rounds in a Tahoe. I'm prepared to take them down. Got banana clips for all these
Look at the
ends
black guy.
acting monkey. This is that slime shit. This is that mob shit. Fuck the judge. YSL. This that mob life.
All right, we get it. We get it. Let's continue on.
Defendant Williams released a video on YouTube of a song wherein he states, I shot at his mommy. Now he no longer mentions me.
In reference to YF and Lucci.
Act like you want war and they gonna smoke you like a blunt.
I like a good boy every now and then.
Another song, I escaped every one of the licks because I was supposed to be rich. I don't care nothing about a cop. I'm just telling you how it is. I done did the robbing. I done did the jacking. Now I'm full rapping. Gave the lawyer close to $2 million. He handles all the killing. We don't speak about shit on wax. It's all my business. We know to kill the biggest cats of all kittens.
Well, all of this, he pled guilty to all.
In another song, I was on
stuff, but
Cleveland, stuck like a magnet. Bitch ass N-word. Pay
You
for that
bitch, but can't
casket.
say nigga.
That's just if we whack them.
damn, man. You know, everybody comes to my channel and say I'm rooting for the state. I'm just giving an honest opinion from what I see, man. And it looks like he might be cooked. This judge is probably going to give him 20.
All I ever wanted was the money. Put your hands in the air if you dare. F and N, put them in a wheelchair. And even later on, Mr. Williams, and I believe that this was in 2019, made a post to YFN Lucci or Rayshawn Bennett. If I ain't like what you do for your mother and kids, I would have been killed you.
What up, Detroit? Man, god damn, boy. Hey, we don't need no more lyrics, man. Every song, this nigga's killing somebody.
And in yet another song entitled Anybody, Defendant Williams stated, I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body. I got the streets on my back, carry it like I'm moving a body. I told them to shoot 100 rounds like he trying to movie the body. Ready for war like I'm Russia. I get all types of cash. I'm a general.
Russia's losing the war, Thugger. Hey, like, yeah, man, you can't be mad at the state for using lyrics where your lyrics match up with fucking crimes. That's the same thing with Lil Durk, dumbass. Hey, it is what it is, man. These niggas know more than us. So I know there's a couple of songs.
As Mr.
They call me
Williams'
a broke ass
prominence
nigga
in the music industry rose, his ascension within or in leadership in the gang YSL became more apparent as he rapped and talked about the crimes that YSL co-conspirators and members committed and how he got away with robberies. With respect to the Donovan Thomas murder, the court has heard evidence through phone records that within 6 minutes of the shooting of Donovan Thomas Jr., a phone call was made from Demise McMullen's cell phone to defendant Williams' phone. And then immediately after that call, Mr. Williams calls his sister Dora Greer.
They're not using the lyrics to convict. They're just using these lyrics to line up with crimes that were actually committed. What she's talking about right now is what they're using to convict. Plus, He'd already pled guilty. They did allow the NOLO plea, but we'll see what the judge says.
And then calls prior inconsistent statements about who committed the murder itself and what happened afterwards.
Yeah, like we shot at his mom. He
The
didn't mention the
conflict
name.
between YSL and members of IF Gang continued into 2019, wherein Mr. Williams raps the lyrics that I referred to earlier. In May 2019, a YSL member shot multiple times at a vehicle owned by Rayshawn Bennett, a black and red Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon that at the time was being driven by a Milton Howard Jr. It was after that incident, later in August 2019, that defendant Williams posted on his page the language, YFN, if I ain't like what you do for your mother and kids, I would have been killed you. The post was then deleted from his account. Through text messages of a co-conspirator, Marquavius Huey, there was communication between Mr. Huey and Mr. Williams, both in January and in September of 2020. On January 19th, 2020, Mr. Williams sent a flyer to Marquavius Huey with the performance location of Rayshawn Bennett or YFN Lucci. And when he sent that, he sent it with the message, handle that tonight, SLAT, S-L-A-T-T. Mr. Huey responded, SLAT, S-L-A-T-T. On September 2nd, 2020, Mr. Huey sent a flyer to Mr. Williams with another performance location of YFN Lucci. And Mr. Williams responded, Slatty, that is S-L-A-T-T-Y, handle, and stay very low.
Stay off the phone. Don't
Mr.
text
Huey
nobody.
responded, slat, and for show, F-A-S-H-O. I've been out the way and appreciate you for everything, my brother. Never about money with me. I'm built on loyalty. Mr. Williams.
That was the nigga that took a plea yesterday. Niggas say we got text messages of a nigga saying he's built on loyalty. Texting Young Thug who said he didn't do none of this shit. But that nigga took a plea yesterday. Thug up here about to take a plea also. Two niggas that are part of the gang, they leaving these niggas in the rock. That shows you where the loyalty is in this game because they said YSL is a gang. He said that they weren't doing any street shit, but they were doing street shit. Hey, man. As a 39-year-old man, you got to clean the streets up, man. There's kids out here. They're dying, man. And these niggas is doing the shooting.
Williams Myrick at the jail. Mr. Myrick reached out to co-indictee Khalif Adams, who reached out to co-indictee Demikion Garlington to get permission from Mr. Williams. Demikion Garlington.
Listen to this.
Was also involved in the back and forth shootings back in 2015.
They in jail.
On February 9th, 2022, Rayshawn Bennett was stabbed by Jaden Myrick at the Fulton County Jail. And after that stabbing, Mr. Myrick reached out multiple times to Mr. Adams for some type of compensation for the stabbing. Mr. Adams reached out to Mr. Garlington about the payment for the completion.
Who got the money?
On February the 22nd, 2022, YSL co-conspirator and co-indictee Christian Eppinger called YSL co-conspirator Antonio Sumlin to get permission to finish what Mr. Myrick could not complete, that is the killing of Mr. Bennett. Mr. Eppinger asked for payment for a lawyer. However, these calls were intercepted and Mr. Bennett was relocated. In March 2022, information about the stabbing made the news, and shortly thereafter, a series of violent offenses occurred. On March 11, 2022, YSL associates Christian McMiller and Darius Ford were gunned down. Mr. McMiller is a childhood friend of Mr. Williams. Mr. Ford was also a friend of Mr. Williams. On March 12th, the day after, there was a shootout near the Cleveland Avenue area.
And they said the
A
state didn't have
shooting
no
by
evidence.
a YSL associate, Stephen Harris, in YFN territory occurred, and a YFN member was shot in the head. March 11th through March 14th, there were a number of social media posts going back and forth between members of YSL and YFN. One of them was a post by Shannon Stillwells. We ain't the only ones who ain't gonna be crying, that's going to be crying.
What up, Miss J?
After a posting was made by Mr. Watts picturing him, Mr. Shamel Drinks, and Mr. Jasper Walters, on March 14th, 2022,
Woody at home.
after YSL members spotted Mr. Drinks at a gas station, Mr. Drinks was gunned down as he drove away from the gas station and waited at a red light. Later, Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Nichols, Mr. Garlington, and Mr. Farley were all charged with the murder. That is one of the acts that we are still would anticipate the court seeing the evidence of during the course of this trial. After grand jury warrants were issued after this indictment for Mr. Williams and 27 other co-conspirators, following searches of phones, wiretaps, and other information that led police to understand the role that Mr. Williams played in the YSL street gang and enterprise. Mr. Williams' home, he was arrested at his home and a search warrant was executed inside his home. While at his home, a sale amounts of illegal narcotics, including those that he is charged with in this indictment, was found. Also found was the machine gun with which the defendant has been charged in this indictment. The gun had a switch. The narcotics included marijuana, codeine, and cocaine. And inside the home were also other guns besides the guns with the switch.
And this is why they're trying to get the
items
property.
were seized, and again, Mr. Williams was subsequently arrested, along with other YSL members at Mr. Williams' home.
Now, of course,
Your Honor,
still doesn't want
that is the evidence that I believe has been shown throughout the course of this trial and that the state would continue to show. There are several messages between Mr. Huey and Mr. Williams inside the cell phone that one of the cell phones that were recovered from Mr. Huey, besides the messages about.
Use the microphone now.
Tells Mr. Williams he has a new number. Mr. Huey asks Mr. Williams, hey, my brother, I'm fucked up. You ain't got nobody I can pull up on and have something in my pocket. Mr. Williams responds, slat, let me call BEO. Mr. Huey responding, slat, I need you, my brother. Mr. Huey saying, asking whether.
So the reason the state is presenting all of this is because the defense is obviously going to have a chance to counter all of it and say what they got to say. But so right now it's basically the defense and the prosecutor. They're just, hey, they're laying their case out to the judge. The judge is going to hear. I don't know if they're going to do it today. I think they'll probably have a sentencing hearing because the judge is probably going to have to process all of it. But Brian Steele is obviously going to have a chance. Now, with all this evidence that they're going through, it's going to be tough to say, well, you know, we didn't do that. He may have known him. They may have sent a text message, but that slap was just slime love all the time. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know how they're going to. Well, that's why he gets paid the millions. I don't. We'll see what Steele got to say.
Mr. Huey said, Slat, you can't cash at me $500 so I can make a payment to my lawyer. Mr. Williams responded, Slat. Mr. Huey sent him his phone number. Mr. Williams assured him through his responses, SLAT, that he would take care of them. Throughout Mr. Huey's phone, you see messages of this nature between Mr. Huey and Mr. Williams. The court, again, will hear that as this trial continues. The recommendation that the state previously made prior to us reaching this point was made with the hope that Mr. Williams would agree to certain special conditions of probation that we asked him to adhere to, and that he would take ownership and responsibility for being the leader of YSL. Given that those negotiations have broken down, we are asking that the court sentence Mr. Williams as we have asked earlier. And prior to the court imposing a sentence, we would ask that Ms. Shawana Edmonds, who is the mother of Mr. Thomas, be allowed an opportunity to make an impact statement. And that is all that we have, unless the court has questions.
Okay, well, given that Mr. Williams is not charged with the murder of Mr. Thomas,
Yeah,
I
we don't
don't
need her up.
think that is applicable here.
I checked on that, Your Honor, with respect to count one. As a co-conspirator, Mr. Williams is responsible for all of the acts of the other co-conspirators, the overt acts. The overt act of the murder of Donovan Thomas is one of those acts.
I know, and this trial is not complete, and so y'all have not yet proven that. Not to mention that you dismissed the murder charge against one of the co-defendants who already pled, so.
Not for that case, Your Honor. That was Mr. Drinks.
Okay.
We have not dismissed any.
All right, well, if there is a conviction on
these other
the
two.
RICO or murder count following the close of this trial, that would be the appropriate time for the victim impact statement to be made. All right, Mr. Steele or Mr. Adams, does the defense want to put anything on the record? Obviously, you need to make a recommendation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Many of the statements made by the prosecutor, we vehemently disagree with. The prosecutor misstated many pieces of evidence and then took liberty that that is the state's theory. Mr. Williams has tendered a nolo contendere plea to the RICO conspiracy count.
That's one.
And in that count, there are several overt acts. And the first one, Your Honor, deals with a traffic stop. It's on September 9th of 2013. And I won't go through every one because it might take a long time, but just for
Reference.
completeness for this, as court knows, Mr. Williams is driving a car. There is a dash cam video of the stop. The officer who testified at the trial 11 years later, the case was a gun was found under the passenger seat.
Gunner.
Mr. Williams is not tied to the gun. He's not convicted of that. And the dash cam video that the officer said would have picked up sound as well as definitely video was never turned over to us, supposedly lost. Could not explain the loss. The armed robbery in another overt act of Mr. Dodson, D-O-D-S-O-N, has the following information. The state only, because we haven't called witnesses yet. So the state put up a man who said nothing except, I don't recall. And then they put in
Woody.
his prior recorded jail calls. That man was taken, his name is Mr. Bean, B-E-A-N. He was taken to Grady Hospital and he was spoken with by a detective. The state vehemently accused me of lying to the jury, that the man never went, Mr. Bean was never taken to Grady Hospital, and that somehow I planted on him to say something on a recording where he said, the reason I implicated Jeffrey Williams is because the police told me that it would be easier for me. Then I had to go through the CAD reports and show that Mr. Bean was in fact taken to Grady Hospital, and Mr. Bean on recording told Detective Quinn, who of course told the truth, Yes, when I spoke to the detective previously, I did lie. Then what the state doesn't tell the jury is that there's another man in the car. He is shot at the scene. He's arrested. He pled guilty. His name is Fred Prethro, Pretho. And Mr. Prethro is in the Georgia State Prison System, easy to find. Mr. Prethro was in Grady Hospital also, unfortunately suffering from a gunshot wound. And you can hear the medical equipment behind him. And Detective Williams came in and was recording the whole conversation and said how many people were in the car. And Mr. Prethro names the people: Adrian Bean, who's the gentleman I just said, himself, and Walter Murphy. Are you sure there weren't a fourth person in the car? No, the three of us. The state doesn't call that person. The state does call Detective Williams. So I wanted to ask and inquire on that. The state, to obstruct, if that's obstruction, asked the predecessor court to prohibit me from getting into the fact of any conversation that would have impeached
What up,
another
Ed?
witness.
We don't know
It's
yet.
fine. Fred Prethro's on my witness list as well as the detective, and I have the recordings. In addition to that, Walter Murphy gave a statement while in the hospital, and his statement is very interesting. It's two different police
Hey, look
reports,
at Yak.
signed the same
Look at
date,
Yak Gotti
which
sleep.
is September 11th of 2013. And on the first 7 lines of the police report, they're identical. Then all of a sudden, when it gets to on the right-hand police report, it says Mr. Murphy stated that there were 3 people, I believe, I have to go back, in the vehicle. On the other police report, it states Mr. Murphy stated there were 4 people. There's no reason that they should be different. They're both signed the same. The state doesn't call that officer at all. I tried to ask Mr. Murphy about it. The state objects, and the predecessor judge sustained the objection. Mr. Williams was not involved in the Mr. Dotson. Miss Bennett, that was Mother's Day, May 12, 2013. She reports allegedly an armed robbery. The detective who testified here and investigated stated he never took out arrest warrants from Mr. Williams. And he wrote in his police report, Miss Bennett is not truthful. That is the case that the state is talking
These are
about.
for 1 and
The
56.
state, then there was
The
Brady
no-no
evidence
pleas.
that they don't turn over.
RICO.
And we find out about it in court after they
The
arrest
gang
Miss Bennett
activity.
because they say she's not cooperating. And it comes out that she told the prosecution over and over again that this did not happen the way that she reported it, and she doesn't remember. As to Donovan Thomas, and Mr. Williams has nothing but empathy, sympathy, and sorrow. They were friends. It is a lie. What the prosecution has put before this jury is a lie. What happened here is the prosecution comes up with a theory because they need a motive, they think. I know you don't need a motive in reality to prove a murder case or any other case, but they wanted a motive. So they made it where Mr. Williams and a gentleman named Rich Homie Kwan, his name is Mr. Lamar, he's a performer, and Mr. Williams and Mr. Lamar were close. There are public documents, recordings, Mr. Lamar being interviewed almost every year, and then he talks about his time with this band or group called Rich Gang. And he says every year up to this past year, he, God forbid, died. We can't call him as a witness, how close he is to Mr. Williams. The state, though, made it in this case, or tried to make it, that Mr. Williams and Rich Homie Kwan are enemies because Rich Homie Kwan will not sign with a record label that has nothing to do with Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams doesn't sign that record label. That record label is owned by a gentleman named Brian Williams, also goes by Birdman. Wildly successful. He started Drake's career. He started Mr. Dwayne Carter, performer known as Lil Wayne's career. He started Nicki Minaj's career. Just fabulous,
Juvenile.
powerful
Fresh.
person, well respected in the industry. But the state wants it to be that Donovan Thomas interceded and would not let Rich Homie Kwan sign to Mr. Brian Birdman Williams, and that is the reason that Jeffrey Williams had a feud and killed Donovan Thomas. Your Honor, what the evidence would really show if we kept going to trial, and I could tell you that Mr. Adams and I never thought we'd be in front of this honorable court. We always thought it would go all the way through trial. Was the state is saying that Rich Homie Kwan and Jeffrey Williams don't speak since the fall, and they have a bad relationship the fall of 2014. we would have shown, and we served on the state, December 15th, 2014, Jeffrey Williams in a private plane with Mr. Lamar or Rich Homie Kwan, and they are high-fiving and laughing with each other. That is on audio video. There's a man who the state hasn't called yet, Mr. Martinez Arnold, also known as Duke. It's on the state's witness list. He's represented by the Honorable Ashley Merchant. He's on that plane as well. He would have identified the item, and he would have testified that Mr. Williams and Mr. Lamar were very close in December 2014. Then on December 29th of 2014, Mr. Williams, Mr. Rich Homie Kwan, Mr. Arnold, others were at Brian Williams' home in Miami, Florida. There was a posting by Mr. Lamar, Rich Homie Kwan, and a picture of Mr. Arnold and Mr. Lamar, and they said, Mr. Lamar says, "This is my number one man, Duke," or something to that effect. We would have put that into evidence. In addition to that, Your Honor, on December
The Chrome extension everyone will be using in 2025. I
He
feel
trying
like
to get out. He trying to get out of that RICO and that gang shit. Now they pled guilty to everything else, but that RICO and gang, we ain't got no involvement.
Mr. Clifford Harris, T.I.'s studio, and at that time, they were very close. But you also have the detective with the gang unit, Detective Underwood. I asked her within the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, did you do any, and she was on the gang unit the entire time, including today. And I asked her, do you have any evidence about Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas being close friends? And she said, yes. Of course, I knew that. I said, how about in January of 2015, close to time of Mr. Thomas's death? She said, yes, they were close friends. Mr. Michael Sprinkle, he's a deputy district attorney in the Fulton County DA's office. He has a recording with Mr. Treadwell. You've heard the name O.G. Bentley. And in that, they're going through the evidence. And Mr. Treadwell, it's important because he has a child, too, actually, with Mr. Thomas's sister. She's family. And Mr. Sprinkle states this is 2018. This is after the rental car. This is after all of the interviews of Mr. Copeland. This is after the interviews of Mr. Zachary. Mr. Sprinkle's in some of those interviews with Mr. Zachary. Mr. Sprinkle on tape, on recording, states, I do not know why anybody thinks Jeffrey Williams is involved in this killing. He and Donovan Thomas were close friends. It makes no sense to anyone. And Mr. Williams was never arrested, never charged, even in this, as the court just noted, with anything to do with Donovan Thomas's, God forbid, killing. In addition to that, Donovan Thomas has a place that he used to stay with a group of people on Auburn Avenue. Jeffrey Williams performed and did a music shoot there to try to help other people who are suffering in poverty to get out and to be able to be seen and to broadcast their music. Jeffrey Williams does that for everybody because he comes, Your Honor, from the struggle of total poverty, seeing people killed. He saw his brother die right in front of him, and the law enforcement, I'm not blaming anybody, everybody's on edge, but law enforcement would not get any help for him because there are all these people around. It is just what Mr. Williams has gone through is wrong for everyone. It's not just Mr. Williams, it's that whole community, but he's trying to get people out of poverty and out of that community. I have been with Mr. Williams where we have gone to speak with children together, and he tells them, don't be a rapper. Be like Brian, be a lawyer, keep in school. He tells his children, get your education. His family, his whole being, Your Honor, is trying to break the chains of poverty for others, and it has been spun in this courtroom with false statements and allegations against Mr. Williams at every turn. In addition to that, Your Honor, the state talks about the fact that Mr. Williams takes people to Miami. You would have heard evidence if we went forward. I put all these people on my witness list. Not one person on my witness list has been interviewed by law enforcement or the prosecution. They have investigated this case for 15 years. They haven't interviewed all these people.
15
The
years.
Sprinter van that you heard about,
Years.
that was already booked days before. going to Miami, Florida, Mr. Williams and Mr. Brian Birdman Williams, they did a video shoot for a music video. If anybody would have gone further with the expert for the state, they would have seen that Mr. Williams' cell phone does not contact any of the co-defendants that are named here in Miami, and Mr. Williams stays at a separate location than any of those persons. He would always take people who can't afford it on airplanes, on buses, on tours, to his concerts. He let everyone go because, Your Honor, they never left that area. He wanted to show people you have an opportunity. The world is big. Mr. Williams gave jobs to everybody who'd want to work. He'd give them jobs and security, and I'm not insulting them. They really weren't their jobs, but they were being mentored, but they were given titles and tried to give them respect and opportunity. But if they did not wish to work, Mr. Williams would not allow them to work with them. This has all been turned on its head by the state. The fact that the state has put in Mr. Williams' lyrics are offensive. Mr. Williams has tens of thousands of recordings. On our witness list, we are bringing in all of his people, his recording artists, his engineers, his managers, his record label, and an expert, the Honorable Dr. Eric Nielsen, to talk about how Mr. Williams creates his music. His music is then changed around and merged. Mr. Williams, some of the lyrics you just heard are not even uttered by Mr. Williams. The state has no idea when these lyrics were made. Some of them were made before the shooting of Donovan Thomas that the state is saying this applies to the Donovan Thomas killing with the Tahoe. They are so far afield of where we need to be when we are trying to, God forbid, take somebody's liberty, Your Honor. The state is talking about things like F the judge and I rep my life for real. That's not even said by Mr. Williams, but they don't care to find out. They are on a tunnel vision to try to convict
some of that shit
a man
was said about
who should not be
Thug and said
convicted.
take it to trial, fuck the judge, fuck the police.
Statement about I never killed nobody, but I got something to do with that body.
Nicki
If the
Minaj
state
wrote
just
that.
bothered to talk with anybody, that is a Nicki Minaj song with Jeffrey Williams. It is written by Nicki Minaj. That is on the text messages I gave, not the text message, the Instagram or Twitter rather, that I gave to the state. That is out well up before this, but the state doesn't care.
Brian Steele is saying Jeffrey Williams don't write his own lyrics. They saying Nicki Minaj is the pen. Come on, Jeffrey, you ain't writing your own lyrics. We got to take you to the hip hop table.
This was out in 2015 or 16 or 17 or 18. I can't remember. I think 18, where Mr. Williams was asked who wrote anybody, and his response is anybody was written by Nicki Minaj. And it was, but it was really written and sung. It's a takeoff of a song by Tupac. There's a song that it parallels, which is an inspiration. But here we are.
Me on Instagram, anyway.
Also, I never killed nobody, but I got something to do with the body. The next line comes up is it's a truancy body. The state can't explain that, so they just conveniently leave it out. Your Honor, there were wiretaps on this case. Mr. Williams, it was going to come out, there was an application to wiretap his phone. The state never presented to a judge. That speaks volumes. The leader of the YSL criminal street gang, who's been involved from 2012 until his arrest, and even according to the state, while we sit here, they never even tried to wiretap his phone. It might have been because they don't really know what his phone number is. So all these communications you're being told about with Mr. Huey, I'm not so sure the state could have gotten anybody to say that's Mr. Williams' phone. This is how the trial has gone for us. But we sit here for almost 2 years since we did our jury selection initiation on January 4th, 2023. Mr. Williams has been sitting in a jail since May 9th, 2022. This is 2.5 years waiting for the conclusion of the state's case and a verdict from the jury. And that's why he is tendering this plea. I'm telling the court this, and the court knows when you came out the first time, it's very hard for Mr. Williams. I am not supportive of what we're doing right now, I'm not against it. But I told Mr. Williams, you okay with me saying this? Yes. I told Mr. Williams that I think we're winning the trial and we should go to verdict. But he told me I can't wait another 3 months if there is any possibility I could go home because I have children that are hurting. I have things to do, and he has some medical issues that he would like to tend to. He eats out of a bag, Your Honor. He eats processed food only. He gained 75 pounds during trial. He's lost it since. But it is hard. You know, for me, it's only 3 more months. It's enjoyable, actually. I enjoy coming. It's not that enjoyable for Mr. Williams. He told me he wakes up. Can I say something? Yes. He wakes up every day, and it's another day in HE blank blank. Your Honor,
Come on, Steele.
the state is talking about, in this case, they put in social media. This honorable court was not here, but the state put in that Mr. Williams, in the indictment, Mr. Williams put out a call for murder. He put $24 million murder for hire on a person's head. That is a lot of money, and that is awful. If they would have read the chat, the Instagram chat, Mr. Williams, right above it, there's a picture of a very well-known, very accomplished musical artist who actually had surgically implanted in his forehead a pink diamond worth $24 million that day. That's what Mr. Williams would talk about. That's the type of evidence that is coming from the state of Georgia in this case. It is wrong. This is all wrong. And I know we're pleading guilty, and I know we're pleading nolo, and I know we're asking this honorable court for a certain sentence, and we'll get to it with the court's permission. But this is the type of evidence that there is. But it is holding this man hostage. And that's not really what we're supposed to do, district attorney time in the state of Georgia or anywhere. The state then, because I opened on that, then they never bothered to put in all of the chats. Why did it take me to read the chats? In addition to that, going back to Donovan Thomas, talk about Mr. Williams involved, the state did a geofence. A geofence tracks his devices. It doesn't have to be a phone. It could be an iPad. It could be any type of electronic device that targets and is used. You don't have to be on the phone. It's the contact. If he has an app open, it'll capture it. And the state targeted the McDonald's, where they keep saying that Mr. Williams met with people there. They targeted the barbershop where, God forbid, the killing occurred. And they targeted a third location, no, 2 locations. And it comes out.
Come on.
Hi, this is Spencer Raskoff, co-founder and chair of Picasso, coming to you from the beautiful Southern California coast, one of Picasso's top.
From his house after getting this call that I'll talk about from Demise McMullen. He's not with these other people. And the expert for the state, the FBI agent who does the telephone analysis, Mr. Williams' phone does not ping off the same tower as a Demise McMullen or a Mr. Copeland or a Mr. Garlington or whomever. The state of Georgia has misrepresented for 2 years in front of this jury. They have hidden evidence. They have violated Brady. They have falsely accused Mr. Williams. Your Honor,
You plead guilty to the drugs and guns.
saying that
we don't want that.
Mr. Williams gets that call 7 minutes after, the state said 6, it was 7 minutes after the killing of Donovan Thomas from Demise McMullen. Mr. Williams was already out of his home. Mr. Demise McMullen's calling Mr. Williams. He's not even there. He's going down to meet with Mr. Kelvin Treadwell, also known as O.G. Bentley. O.G. Bentley was supposed to go to Miami, Florida. They were talking about this deal. And Mr. Williams, that day, he was given another contract. Mr. Williams, by this time, he went from zero money. He is a multimillionaire at the time. He doesn't need the Cleveland Avenue drug deals for $15. He doesn't need the shootings. He wasn't even living in Atlanta since 2018, 19, 20, 21. He came back the very end of 21, 6 months, and he got arrested in May of 2022. In his house, Your Honor, we have everyone on the witness list. There are 12 people living at that house. Mr. Williams opens up any of a car that he has. He'll rent cars for people. Any home he has, he will allow people to live in hotels because people that he knows, unfortunately, are homeless. And he gives them all places to stay, cars to drive around. He is not involved in criminal activity. Mr. Williams just got back in our country. His passport shows it. Right before he was arrested on May 9th of 2022, there were other people in that house with the drugs and the guns. There are people whose the guns are in their names. They were going to come in court and claim the guns. Everybody else was doing as well, but Mr. Williams has entered a guilty plea. I'm not going back on that, but I just want you to know that this case is just wrong to do to somebody with no bond and to hold him hostage. He wants to, you may not do it. He's aware of that. He's aware of that. But the state offered him 15 years on probation. But they keep piling on these conditions. He just said, he made up his mind. He said, I'm just going to go with it. I got to get home. Judge may not let me home, but I'm not doing these conditions and admit that I'm the leader and I'm involved in the killing and my music just promoted everybody to do it. He's not going to do that. So he did not do that. And that's how we wound up here. The state.
Man, give me the 15-year probation. YSL is a gang. I was the leader. I'm out. Give me the 15 years probation. You leaving this up to the judge? Fuck that. Look, I'm the leader of YSL. What's up? 15 years probation, man. Because this is risky. You could have left today. All you had to do is get up there and say, shit, YSL is a gang and I was the leader. Fuck it. Give me the 15 years probation, nigga.
And my bride or my significant other to get to. And Mr. Williams said, be safe, lay low. That's the lay low. In addition to that, Mr. Williams told Mr. Copeland's with the police. Hours after the killing of Mr. Donovan Thomas, Mr. Copeland goes to the police department. Mr. Williams is the person who told him to go. Mr. Copeland said, what do I do? They're shooting at my house, at my family's house, at my significant other's mother's house. And Mr. Williams said, if you had anything to do with the murder, get out of here. Mr. Copeland denied it. And Mr. Williams said, then go tell the police. Mr. Copeland said, you want me to go to the police? And Mr. Williams said, if you had nothing to do with it, they think you did it. Go to the police.
No, don't tell me Thug is telling people to snitch. Come on, Thugger. Come on, Thug. I know you on trial fighting for your life, but don't let me find out you telling niggas to go to the police. Come on, Thugger. I'm gonna have to delete some of your music if I find out you telling niggas to go do some snitching when you got on Gilly and Wallow and said you had a rat radar. Don't let me find out Thug telling niggas to go to the police and snitch now.
In addition to that, Mr. Copeland said, well, I'm going to retaliate. Mr. Williams told him, don't do that. Let 12 handle. That's on recordings. That is on recordings on January 11th of 2015 with Detective Thorpe. Your Honor, as far as
Thug was telling
Mr.
niggas
Carter
to
of
snitch.
Lil Wayne, the performer known as Lil Wayne, comes from. And in order to drum up popularity and interest, people get on the internet and they start what's called rap battles, arguments, feuds. That's what happened here. And you would have heard testimony from Mr. Williams' management that they said, start a rap battle. It'll be better for your career. Mr. Dwayne Carter is aware of that. Mr. Dwayne Carter's interviewed. The state's aware of this. He has interviews after this. Are you mad? What's the real deal with Jeffrey Williams? He states, no. He's great with me. He brought popularity to me. He loves me. He idolizes me, and I love working with him. They did an album together. In 2014, they're in the studio together, making music together. It is all made up that Mr. Williams is involved. Mr. Williams gives a statement. The state refuses to put it in and then stop me, the previous judge, from cross-examining the detective. His name is Racy. He met with Mr. Williams in the DeKalb County Jail on the 15th day of July 2015. Mr. Williams is arrested that day. And there's a long interview. And Mr. Williams waives his right to counsel. He tells them, I'm his lawyer. They say, you don't want to speak to us? You don't have to. He said, well, I'll speak with you. And they asked Mr. Williams these questions. What about Lil Wayne's shooting? He said, it was outrageous. I love him. That's my idol. I love Lil Wayne. How about this battle? He says it's promotion. They asked him about his rap lyrics. It's the only person that the state ever did anything about rap lyrics with. And they asked Mr. Williams, what about the rap lyrics? And he tells them, it's hyperbole. He didn't use that word. He used the word, it's made up. It's rhyming. It's made up. Not like the state is saying that I rap lyrics for real. That's not even Mr. Williams' utterance. Your Honor, the point I'm trying to make to you is what the state of Georgia has presented to this jury in this courtroom the past year.
Hogwash.
Has been full of untruths, and they know it. The state says that Mr. Williams had a conflict because he named an album with Dwayne Carter, and Dwayne Carter didn't like that. Dwayne Carter's interviewed. He said that was one of the nicest things anyone could have done to me. It shows how much he really appreciates me. It shows respect and honor, and I appreciate what he did. The state knows this.
Excuse me.
With regards to Jimmy Winfrey, what the state did is they put in a recording. It's not Mr. Williams. It's a jail recording, Mr. Winfrey and an unknown person. And an unknown person says, when you get out, you're going to get a Porsche and $250,000. Mr. Williams not privy to that. The state looked at all of Mr. Williams' bank records, everything. They undressed him financially. There's zero evidence Mr. Williams did anything for Mr. Winfrey. The state tells you that Mr. Winfrey asked for money for a lawyer. The conversation was, and it's recorded, it was with Mr. Williams' manager. And Jimmy Winfrey said, I need to show that I was gainfully employed for the court. Can you get me something from YSL? And the manager said, yeah, if we have it, and if it's true, yes, you can have it. That is it. There's no evidence that Mr. Williams paid for anybody's lawyer, Mr. Winfrey or otherwise. In addition to that, Your Honor, the social media postings with Mr. Rashawn Bennett, also known as YFN Lucy. So Mr. Williams, the state tells Mr. Bennett on social media, I would have killed you if I didn't like the way you take care of your mother and children. That is the post. What they don't tell you is Mr. Bennett, who is also, to his credit, trying to drum up his career. Mr. Bennett is picking on Mr. Williams, who's a much higher profile artist than Mr. Bennett at that time. And Mr. Bennett is saying that he slept with Mr. Williams' fiance.
What?
While Mr. Williams and she are a significant couple, that Mr. Williams' music is awful. Nobody should listen to his music ever. Mr. Williams responds by saying, we can do an album together if you want. Stop this. The man continues of how he's sleeping with Mr. Williams' significant other. And then Mr. Williams responds by saying, I would have killed you except for what you do. That is the context that they don't tell you about. And Mr. Williams did nothing to Mr. Bennett. In fact, the evidence would have shown, if we had time or we would gone forward, that Mr. Bennett and Mr. Williams are on the red carpet receiving awards in California, sitting right next to each other and taking photographs. This is not the Jeffrey Williams. Jeffrey Williams is a known person who is all over the place. If he did something, somebody wanted him, they can find him. He is not hanging out on Cleveland Avenue. What the state is saying are not true. The situation with Mr. Bennett. So he's in the Fulton County Jail. and he's housed. And there are crazy, sick, violent people. And they're on the phone. And Mr. Myrick, M-Y-R-I-C.
If you could imagine your ideal.
Hey, still he doing his thing, still cooking right now. But man, the Lucci part, that if I'm the judge, I'm like, nigga, that don't even sound right.
Hey, find out how much Thug will pay me to kill Mr. YFN Lucci. Mr. Sumlin says, I don't know his number. I can't get in touch with him. He doesn't talk to me. And that's because, Your Honor, since 2015, and he means no insult, but Jeffrey Williams has had zero contact with Shannon Stillwell until this case, Kenneth Copeland, Demikian Garlington, Justin Cobb, Demise McMullen, Mr. Sledge, Mr. Murphy, all these people. This is a lie. This is a 100% lie, and that's why we tendered a no-low plea to being a leader of a criminal street gang. Mr. Williams is not a leader. In fact, if it would go forward, on Mr. Huey's phone, there are conversations with Mr. Copeland. And they both say how Jeffrey Williams is a zero, and F him. And they don't talk to him, and Jeffrey Williams never does anything for them. Mr. Huey, Mr. Williams met later. He met him closer in the time of 2020. Mr. Huey's father went through a horrible episode that Mr. Williams knew, and that's how Mr. Williams knew his son, who's Mr. Huey. And Mr. Huey's on hard times, and Mr. Huey's making mistakes. And Mr. Huey, supposedly, Mr. Williams believes, armed robbed a man named Chandler Durham, D-U-R-H-A-M. Mr. Durham is Mr. Williams. He's a fabulous record engineer. And Mr. Williams states, give him back, tell him to give back the property or he's going to die. The state puts that as an overt act. No one dies. The property doesn't get returned. Mr. Huey ignores Mr. Williams. The state told you today that Jeffrey Williams sent Mr. Huey a posting that Mr. YFN Lucci is going to be performing on January 19, 2020. That's not true. Mr. Huey sent that to whose ever phone that was. And all it says is slat and slatty. Well, I went out to the places that Mr. Bennett was supposed to perform. There's no shooting. There was no fight. There was nothing to report. There's nothing here. In addition, the state says same thing on September 12th, September 2nd, 2022 on Mr. Huey's phone. I'm not conceding that was Jeffrey Williams even having a conversation with him, but even if it was, it doesn't show anything. It says slatty, lay low. Lay low means don't do anything. Get out of the way. That is what it is. That is Mr. Williams' role. Mr. Williams, there is evidence in the record, and there would have been more. He takes people on tour with him. He takes people to the mall with him. But when they do crime or do things to people, for instance, there was a prostitute, and several people gave that prostitute money, $500. And the prostitute at the end of the $500, getting $500 from several people, had sex with a person, and then she was armed robbed. So all the money came back. Mr. Williams wasn't involved in that, but he heard about it. He made those people find the prostitute and repaid her every dime. People stole from stores that Mr. Williams.
This nigga, they still making this nigga sound like fucking Batman. You know? We didn't even need to know nothing about this prostitute incident. This nigga still said, yeah, man, they had sex with a prostitute. They all gave her $500, and then they robbed her. Thugger found out about it. He said, hey, what are you guys doing? Go find her on the streets, and you give her that money back, damn it. Hey, bro, if I'm in the courtroom, I'm like, what? What does this have to do with what does this got to do with the RICO, nigga? Nigga, that was a freak off, nigga. That case is in New York, nigga. That's Diddy's case, nigga. We down here for a fucking RICO, nigga. We don't give a fuck about no prostitute. The young thug tell him this or still came up with this shit off the top of his head, man. Ain't no, hell no. If I'm the judge, I'm like, wait a minute. Not to cut you off or anything. So wait, you're admitting that young thug allows prostitution to go on around him? He didn't know anything about them robbing, but what are we talking about still? Let's get back on topic, man. So you're saying he's not involved. Wait a minute. How long did they know this prostitute? Was it on Cleveland Ave? Where's this prostitute coming from? And why are you entering this into this? You're trying to go home today, right? Let's not bring up any other crimes that Young Thug is obviously the head honcho of. Unless you my boss, there's no way you can tell me what the fuck to do. So saying that there's prostitutes and these niggas robbed them, the only person that can tell niggas that are doing the robbing to go give somebody the money back is who? The head fucking honcho. Why would he bring up King Slime telling, hey, you niggas robbed somebody, go give the money back? The only person that can tell you some shit like that is the CEO of a company, your father, or the head of a criminal organization. Why would still bring that up? You know, there was a prostitute at the house. 5 niggas had sex. That was $1,500, no, 5, 10, 15. Well, all of them didn't have all the money, but let's just say it was $2,500. Thug said, wait a minute. You guys robbed that hardworking woman of $2,500? Take it back right now. He grabbed him by the ear and took him down there, Your Honor. I promise you, I seen it with my own eyes.
Type of person, and he's certainly not the person that the state has stated in front of the court. What we're asking, Your Honor, on count 1, which is the RICO count, to accept the nolo contendere plea. Please sentence Mr. Williams to 20 years to serve 5 years in prison commuted to time served. Mr. Williams has served, as I said, 22.5 years. On count 56, Your Honor, that's the leadership of a gang, nolo plea, 20 years to serve 5 years commuted to time served, consecutive to all other counts. On count 57, which is a gang count, Your Honor, not a leader, guilty plea, 20 years to serve 5 years commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. With regard to count 58, which is possession of,
here we go,
I believe it is
she goes down the middle, 5 years.
marijuana with intent to distribute, 10-year sentence on probation, concurrent with count 1. On count 59, which is violation Georgia Controlled Substance Act, possession of codeine with intent to distribute, 5 years on probation, concurrent with count 1. On count 59, Your Honor, which is violation Georgia Controlled Substance Act, possession of cocaine, 3 years on probation, concurrent with count 1. Count 61, 5 years of probation. It's a firearm count, consecutive to the other counts, consecutive to before count 56. And then count 62, 10 years to serve commuted to time served. That should be a total sentence, Your Honor, that we are respectfully requesting the court to consider. I believe it's 45 years to serve 5 years in prison, commuted to time served, 40 years on probation, credit for the time already served and commuted time served. As I said, after 3 years of probation, the probation becomes non-reporting, and after successful completion of 10 years on probation, the balance of the sentence be terminated. Mr. Williams asked the court for house arrest for 3 years as part of the sentence, but house arrest specifically defined that Mr. Williams will be in his home or at any lawful employment, touring, studio, performance, business meetings, and the like. Wear an ankle monitor for the first year and pay the costs of same, and the company must be approved by probation department, and the ankle monitor to be affixed within 10 days of hopeful release from custody. Mr. Williams cannot possess a firearm, but he can be around licensed security who are armed, or other persons who are lawfully carrying a firearm with a license. And that would be knowingly for Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams can transfer probation outside the state of Georgia. He has residences in the state of California. He has studios in the state of California. Mr. Williams be allowed to travel throughout our country and the world for lawful work-related industries. Mr. Williams wants to perform. He's going to do this anyway, Your Honor, but we made it part of the sentence. At least one concert each year at a venue, if they'll have him over holding 10,000 people, if that is workable for the venue and Mr. Williams' management, and he is going to donate all of the profits that he makes to a 501c3 charity. Mr. Williams wants to pledge $100,000 for the next 3 years to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office if they will hold an illegal firearm buyback to buy back firearms that are not supposed to be on our streets. Mr. Williams does not wish to go near the Cleveland Avenue area, not to insult that area at all, but it is just not a good idea under this circumstance. And he can drive on the highway, but otherwise not come within 1 mile of the area that we call Cleveland Avenue, and we can give the exact dimensions of that area. Mr. Williams must perform 100 hours of community service per year for the next 3 years as designated by probation department. Mr. Williams can associate, and this was agreed to previously, with people who are convicted felon or alleged gang members.
Establish that until the entirety of the negotiations were agreed to, it was all up in the air.
Sure.
That may have been something y'all had already hammered out, but it's not anything they're bound to.
Absolutely.
Fair. Okay.
I agree with it. Mr. Williams can have no contact with any of the supposed victims, and there was an Exhibit A attached to the state's proposed plea agreement, negotiated plea agreement that was sent to you. So we adopt that Exhibit A, but we can give it to the court if you need those names. And Mr. Williams have no contact with any of the co-defendants in this indictment, with the exception of Mr. Quantavious Greer, that is his biological brother, as well as Mr. Sergio Kitchens. He's a phenomenal artist. He goes performer known as Gunna, G-U-N-N-A. Mr. Williams and Mr. Kitchens are contractually obligated, and they frequently perform music together. Your Honor, any other conditions that this honorable court deems appropriate? I want to thank the court
Here we go.
for all your time. Always, I want to thank Ms. Percival for everything she has done. I want to thank Mr. Williams for allowing me to stand with him. I really never thought we would be here, but this is his decision. I want to thank the Honorable Keith Adams, who may want to speak, Your Honor, but I can never imagine a better lawyer than Keith Adams.
Mr. Adams, do you want to add anything to the record?
Hell no, I'm gonna go home. I mean, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I don't know that there's really much to add. Mr. Steele has represented to the court, I think fully and thoroughly, the breadth of our knowledge of the case, Mr. Williams's background. I think the court has not just heard it from Mr. Steele, but has had the opportunity to sit here and hear some of the evidence and kind of get a feel. You've had a chance also to observe Mr. Williams and then get a feel for him, his background, and so forth. You know, the only thing I can say about Mr. Williams that hasn't been said is that he comes from an area. You might have heard throughout the course of the trial that there was an album, a concert tour. We came from nothing. And that is true. Mr. Williams came from, you know, I hate to use the word abject poverty, but that really is the case. Came from an area where there was a significant amount of crime. where, as you've heard, he's had tragedy in his life and has observed tragedy in his life, and he has gone through a good bit. He has been involved in a lot, but he has raised himself up. He has done the best he could and has done phenomenally well, and is, I think, an inspiration to a lot of people from that community who look to him and see the success that he has gained, and have been fully supportive of him. But he finds himself here. He is in front of you. He is tendering this plea because he accepts responsibility. You have heard everything Mr. Steele has had to say. I can only ask that you follow what we have put before you. You also have, I believe, the paperwork that was given to you by the state, which kind of gives you some idea of what they were looking for as well in terms of conditions on Mr. Williams, if we were to have reached some sort of agreement. And we ask that if you feel that there's anything within the state's proposal that might be appropriate in terms of the sentence for Mr. Williams, that the court please feel free to do that. There's nothing that he puts himself before the court. And I think 2.5 years sitting, going through this process, challenging the process, but now standing before you and asking that you consider everything and sentence him appropriately in the way that we've requested. I'd simply ask you, I'd join Mr. Steele and Mr. Williams in asking you to do the same. And I thank you as well, as Mr. Steele did, for your patience with us and for bringing some order to the proceedings that candidly was needed.
We had to have a.
But that's all I have to say. I thank you again, and I ask you to
today.
consider everything that's been put before you.
This is a recess.
All right, Mr. Williams, is there anything that you want to say?
Yes, ma'am. I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can't say all their names, my managers, my kids that's not here. Really everybody that got something to do with this situation, I want to say sorry for just having so much time investing into this, and I am a smart guy. I am a good guy, and I really got a good heart. I find myself in a lot of stuff because I was just
look at Yak.
so cool, and I understand that you can't be that way when you reach a certain height, because it could end bad, and it don't really have to have nothing to do with you, but it could end bad, and it could, fall on you. And I know the choice is yours, it's up to you, and I hope that you allow me to go home today and just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again unless it's at a bar in the future or something. Just out of this type of situation, I promise you I won't ever be in this type of situation again. I'm going away. I've learned from my mistakes. I come from nothing and I've made something. And
cut it off, Doug. That's good.
I'm sorry. Through these last 2.5 years of my life, you are really, truly, honestly, the best thing that has happened to me, because you made everything fair for me and everybody involved on both sides. I'm sorry to the sheriff, everybody, for just having to put extra time in. I know y'all got paid more money, but I'm sorry for y'all having to put this extra time in to be away from y'all family, and I just hope that you find it in your heart to allow me to go home and be with my family and just do better as a person. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I am. I know the heights I've reached. I know the impact I got on people, period, in the community. All people. I learned that late, these past 2 or 3 years of my life. I kind of learned that late, and maybe it was because I was, probably on drugs or anything. I don't know, but I have came to my senses and I understand what I mean to this world. But I am a good guy. I don't mind doing stuff like free shows, and I always did that. You know, I did free shows and gave it to single parents, millions of dollars. You know, I made $1.8 million on a free show, and I gave it all to single parent charity. And I did like 2 or 3 shows that made like $700,000 a piece, and I gave it to the breast cancer organization. Like, you know, I do things like I put millions of dollars back into my community for real. I really did. I did more than anybody ever did from my side, you know. But I understand, you know, rap lyrics. I understand how it could be twisted. I understand what it could do to the mind of people. I understand all that, and I promise you, I'm 100% changing that. You know, it's just, I'm older, I'm grown now, you know, and it's just like, I'm smarter. It's more things to rap about. Like I've experienced a lot of good things. I experienced more bad things, but I experienced a lot of good things too. And anyway,
Boy, trying to go home, ain't he?
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you do realize how much of an impact you have on people. I mean, it's past your neighborhood. It's
Up our city.
worldwide, especially young people. And having come up from where you came up from and living in and around that, you know that gangs are damaging to our community. And it may be that a whole lot of rap music and the rap industry is, I mean, honestly, it sounds like a modern day version of kind of WWE wrestling that used to be on television, where people would just get up and posture and act like they hated each other. And it may be that that's a lot of what is going on in the music industry with rap. But whether it is fake or not, it has tremendous impact on kids and young people who think, this is cool, this is what I want to do. Look at him, he's a millionaire. I can do that by being, you know, a gangster in the streets. And that's not true. What you're likely to have happen to you if you're a gangster in the streets is you get shot, you get killed, or you get thrown in prison. And those are, you know, by far the most likely outcomes.
She about to get his
And
20.
you know, you've been in here watching the trial, and you've seen the pictures of Mr. Ryan posing with a gun as big as he is at 15 years old and going out and shooting and killing another teenager. And that's what gangs do. And that's unfortunately a lot of what rap music does. And if you are a modern day John Lennon, you know, I mean, he might have rapped too in this day and age. I don't know. But I know you're talented. And even if you choose to continue to rap, you need to try to use your influence to let kids know that that is not the way to go, and that there are ways out of poverty besides hooking up with the powerful guy at the end of the street selling drugs. And, you know, I know that happens for protection sometimes, but a much better way would be getting an education and setting, you know, hanging around with people who set a good example. And you be one of those people that sets a good example. I mean, all right, so that's my high horse on that. I could also go on.
Do you know what's really funny? Making a website on Wix.
All right, so it is not lost on the court that the state, had they been able to come to agreement on certain special conditions, was willing to entirely dismiss the RICO count, was willing to entirely dismiss one of the gang counts, and was willing to entirely dismiss this, you know, machine gun count. Was willing to give a sentence that permitted Mr. Williams to walk out of the door today, and therefore does not seem to be particularly worried that Mr. Williams, if on the streets, would be a danger to society.
Uh-oh,
I'm
might be going home.
taking that into consideration and crafting my sentence. And in permitting a NOLO plea to the RICO count in one of the 2 gang counts, I would not be permitting the NOLO to the one if you were not pleading guilty to at least one of them. But you are, and y'all admit a factual basis for the counts that you are pleading guilty to. I find there to be a factual basis for those counts, and for the remaining counts with which you are charged. I am going to impose a sentence, and I've taken a little bit of the suggested special conditions from the defense and a little bit of the special conditions suggested by the prosecution. On count 1, the court sentence is 20 years to serve 5 years, commuted to time served, the balance of 15 years to be probated, and a $25,000 fine. On count 2, the sentence is 5 years to serve, commuted to time served. That's the minimum sentence that's permitted on that count. It is required to be run consecutively. I'm going to run it consecutive to count 1, but I am going to backload. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not commuted. That is 5 years to serve, and it's going to be run consecutively to count 1, backloaded, by which I mean after you serve your 15 years of probation, if you have been successful on that probation, and I sincerely hope that you are, then at the end of that 15 years, I will commute the entire rest of any service portion of your sentence to time served. So I'll get to the end of it and give you the total sentence, but I'm also going to impose a $15,000 fine with regard to that count. Count 57, 20 years to serve 5, commuted to time served, the balance of 15 years probated, concurrent with count 1. Count 58, 10 years to serve 5, commuted to time served, balance probated, concurrent with count 1. 59, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. 60, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. Count 61, 5 years to serve, that is required to be also a consecutive sentence, so that's going to be run consecutively to count 56 and backloaded. Count 62, 10 years to serve, also required to be served consecutively, that's going to be consecutive to count 61, also backloaded. So essentially, the total sentence is 40 years to serve the first 5 years in prison, but commuted to the time that you have already served, followed by 15 years on probation, followed then by the backloaded 20 years, which can be served in custody and will be served in custody if you are not successful on your probation. If you are successful in completing your 15 years probation, that will be commuted to time served. You are to remain on reporting status for the first half of your probation, active reporting for the first 7.5 years of your probation, and that is pursuant to OCGA 17-10-1, subsection 2, A2A. And Mr. Steele and Mr. Adams, in order to keep him on reporting status, there needs to be good cause shown. We all concede that good cause is shown here?
Stipulate.
All right, I appreciate that. Special conditions of your probation.
What the cost? What do it mean?
Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Sure.
Let the judge.
He said, what'd that mean?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. You had enough time to talk with your attorneys?
Yes.
Okay. All right, special conditions of your probation. After 48 hours from your release, you are to stay away from the metro Atlanta area, and that's defined by the U.S. Census Bureau. It may change, but you can look that up anytime to figure out what that is. For the first 10 years of your probation, subject to the following exceptions, you are permitted to be in the metro Atlanta area to attend any wedding, funeral, or graduation from high school, college, or graduate school of any of your immediate family members. And immediate family members is defined the same way that you all were contemplating it when you were negotiating. You can get here up to 24 hours prior to any such event, and you need to leave within 48 hours after any such event. In addition, during each year of your probation, I'm going to require that you come to the metro Atlanta area and make a live anti-gang and anti-gun violence presentation 4 times a year, each year of your probation, at a grade school, a middle school, a boys or girls club, anything like that, that type of group. And if you want to, that presentation can include a benefit concert, and these presentations may count towards your required community service hours, which I'm going to impose, that during each year of your probation, you perform 100 hours of community service. You are, and this is required by the fact that there's a gang conviction. You shall not knowingly have contact of any kind or character with any other member or associate of any criminal street gang. Exception to that, if your brother is a member of any street gang, I hope you talk him into getting out of it. Quantavious Greer, and then also Sergio Kitchens, as long as you are contractually obligated to him. That is going to include anybody who is named in this indictment, except as absolutely necessary to conduct the lawful business of your musical career, and to any extent that the state is not agreeing to the exception for Mr. Kitchens. In the event that that part is not enforceable because it is only a portion of a special condition, going to provide that that be severable from the rest of this, and I'll put some case sites in the Senate sheet for that. You are in no way to promote any criminal street gang or any criminal street gang activity, including on any social media platform. You are not to utilize any hand signs, terminology, or language that promotes any criminal street gang. You are not to participate in any criminal street gang activity. You are not to knowingly engage in any contact with any of the victims that are listed in this indictment or with any of their family members. And you may not have in your possession or with arm's reach any kind of a firearm because you're going to be a convicted felon. And that is, except I know that you have security and you need security. You can be within arm's reach of a firearm that is in the possession of either licensed law enforcement or licensed security personnel that are in your security detail or anybody that you're performing with.
He can't be around.
You are to submit to random drug screens and not use any drugs unless they are prescribed for you by a licensed physician. You are to execute a Fourth Amendment waiver that will permit the search of your person, residence, vehicles, and electronics for any firearms, any criminal street gang paraphernalia, or any illicit drugs. And as I mentioned, with regard to one of the first of your co-defendants from this trial, at least since I've been involved, to plead guilty, our Uniform Superior Court rules instruct and provide that it is absolutely proper for a judge to grant leniency in sentencing when, quote, the interest of the public in the effective administration of criminal justice are served, unquote. And I think that this plea is in the interest of the public and in the interest of effective administration of justice. Have been trying to ensure that to the extent I can, this trial also abides by that. It's been challenging at certain times.
Come on,
I
y'all.
find your plea to be freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered with an understanding of the consequences, and I accept it as such. I also need to inform you that your attorneys were going to represent you through either the last day of this term of court or 30 days from now, whichever is later, and any of the filings that were mentioned that need to be filed within that time, they would file on your behalf unless they are permitted to withdraw from representing you before that time. I am not going to impose the conditions suggested by your counsel about the benefit concerts and the donations to the sheriff's office, but I certainly strongly encourage you to do those things and to do and continue to do things that benefit your community and especially help young people to stay out of criminal trouble. And unless there is anything from counsel other than that.
I have one matter, Your Honor.
Do you have a car?
Right.
Do you have a clean driving record?
No, we don't.
Did you know you could pay as low as $39?
Your Honor, with regards to Mr. Williams being permitted to come to the Metro Atlanta area or Cleveland Avenue area for funeral or the other items,
Right.
can you also consider, God forbid, there's a serious medical condition of a person that
In
is
his immediate family,
yeah.
certainly, we can add that. And I also meant to mention, because I know you do travel all over in order to pursue your career, that it's permissible for your probation to be transferred to out of state, and that has to be done through probation, but that is fine with the court. And you may also keep your, nobody's mentioned it, but keep your passport and travel out of state and internationally to the extent that you need to do that for business purposes as well. All right, Mr. Vadi.
Yes, just very briefly, and thank you. The district attorney just wanted me to urge the court, due to the fact that the Thomases have been negatively affected incredibly traumatically by what has been discussed by both parties here today, to make a brief statement as she believes that they fall within the exception or within the bounds of Marcy's law, if the court would allow. I understand the court made a ruling earlier as it relates to that, but she wants
All right, thank you. And I appreciate, well, I cannot even begin to understand what they must, anybody must be going through when they lose a family member to violence or criminal violence.
She's trying to get this shit
Mr.
over with.
Williams himself has expressed his own sorrow to the family. I, again, am going to stand by my belief that the appropriate time to hear a victim impact statement from them is at the close of the trial that contains the murder count with regard to their family member. All right, thank you. Okay, court is adjourned. Good luck to you. And I'm going to have there better be no violations, but if there are any, you're coming back to see me.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hey, you're.
Court is adjourned. All right. Well, the state of Georgia, they got their man on papers for 40 years, 5 years time served, 40 years. All he got to do is make it 15 years without a speeding ticket, without being around a gun, without saying slat, without saying slime, without engaging on social media. Come on, Thugger. Come on, Thugger. Thug is free and on papers for the next 15 at least. Well, pretty damn good. State imposed. Let me see. I got 3 pages of notes from today. Let me see. Hold on. So initially the state imposed 43 years, but after that, since they didn't want to get that, they said 45, served 25 with 15 on probation. And then Steele came in here. They knocked that all the way down to 40 years. 40 years, 5 years with time served, 15 years probation with the backload of 20, meaning, you know what I'm saying, don't violate the probation. We'll get rid of all that other extra 20, that last 20 you got. But you got to have active reporting. You got to perform 4 times a year anti-gun, anti-gang for 15 years. So 4 times a year, 15. So 5, 2, carry that. That's 60 performances or 60 events, which would go into his 100 hours. I'd make sure that each one of those are at least like a 4 to 5 hour event. Yeah, I do 4 to 5 hours. They can search him anytime they want to. I don't know if they didn't say anything about being on drugs. They didn't say anything about, well, you can't smoke weed in Georgia anyway, so you can't smoke drugs, can't smoke weed, can't have codeine, can't have coke around them. Obviously, can't have guns. Got the security. So I mean, hey, we still got 2 more that the state are trying to get. Young Thug left them 2 brothers in there. He said, "The hell with that. I don't have anything to do with Cleveland Avenue anymore. I don't have anything to do with Atlanta. I can't claim no zones anymore. I can't do slat. I can't wipe my nose. I can't do nothing. If my nose start running, I'm gonna need my girl to come over here and wipe it for me because I can't wipe my nose no more. I can't even throw up YSL no more. God damn, man. What kind of music is Thugger gonna rap about now? Because he can't rap about the guns and butter no more. He can't rap about the streets no more. Damn. Damn, what Thug gonna rap about? He really got to change his name to Truly Humble Under God now. He can't be Young Thugger no more. He got to be Young Truly. Speaking of Trulies, I might get some Trulies this weekend. Well, there we go. The YSL RICO. Pled NOLO for the gang charges, NOLO for the RICO charge. You got 5 years time served. Go home today. 15-year probation is going to kick him in the ass, though. That's a long time. But hopefully 15 to put him at what? 48, almost 50 years old. He'd be all right. He should be all right. He beat the RICO. Technically, he beat the RICO. He pled guilty to some other charges, but he beat the RICO. And there you go, man. That probation is what's gonna whoop ass, though. Yeah. And well, she said, well, they asked for first 3 years of house arrest and only go to work and business. Now, she was saying that he can travel for work. He can't be inside of Metro Atlanta. He can't be 1 mile within Cleveland Avenue. So is he got to stay at home? He going to go like do business meetings and shit. Shit, man, that's a long time though. 15 years. God damn. He'd be all right though. Shit. He could take vacations, just do a show out there, do a little vacation, and then head on back. So he beat the RICO charge, but he didn't beat the state. So that's cool. He beat the RICO though. DeMarcus, thank you for that $5. Big Meech and Thug on probation. P. Diddy locked up in the same year. Yeah. I know somebody said that Thug should do something with Meech. He can't. Meech is a felon, so he can't be around any felons. He can't be around any known gang members. So who else is a felon? Is 21 Savage a felon? There's a lot of artists he ain't gonna be able to work with unless he sends the verse over, but he won't be able to do like a show or anything with him, I don't think. Hey, she told him he was like, your brother's in the gang. Maybe you can convince him to get out of that. She didn't want to deal with Steele no more. I'll give Steele credit. Steele did his thing here. The state, I mean, they got some charges, you know, saying they got the probation, but Steele did his thing. Definitely worth the money. 2.5 years in. I just want to see how he's going to do this probation. He should be all right. You just got to clean everybody out, man, because they said he had, 12 people living at the house? I'm sure 12 of those people, well, one of those 12 was probably like a felon or something. Damn. So that means if you're doing illegal shit, Thug got to cut you off. Nah, I wouldn't say Steele Cochran. I wouldn't say Steele Cochran. Steele be the murder. Young Thug just beat some gang activity. Young Thug wasn't connected to the Cochran is different. Cochran beat a double homicide. Cochran was different, all right? We give still his flowers, but he ain't beat two bodies, all right? He did not beat two bodies. He beat a RICO where all the other acts was up under it, and he beat gang activity. He did not beat two bodies. So don't put him on Cochran's level. He's up there, but don't put him on Cochran's level. Well, they said he hasn't been talking to Woody in years. So yeah, see Harvey, yeah. The other day, Bruce Harvey beat a body. See, that's beating a body. This wasn't beating no body. Jeffrey didn't have a body. All he had was just linked. All he was just linked to the criminal organization. That's it. I wasn't the leader of that, but he pled guilty to everything else. So, I mean, it's still good. Because if they would have took it to trial, that's what I was saying. If he would have took it to trial, those two with that body, if they would have linked that, then okay, that probably would have been tougher. But that's why I was saying, if he takes this, he's gonna leave those two in, and it's just gonna be whatever it is for those two. Damn. And remember what Moontung took 5 years last year, or no, he had to serve his whole 9 or something. And that's what I was talking about when we did this on Tuesday. I was like, man, I'd be damned if I was holding it down for Thug and this nigga gets a plea deal and gets out. And sure enough, this nigga Thug gets a plea deal and I'd be upset. And you can't even go and talk to Thug about it because he can't be around your felon ass. He at home. He got to go on shows. I can't be around gang members. And YSL is a gang, so I can't be around none of you niggas. I'd be pissed. I went back to jail for holding it down for Thug, and now this nigga's out, and I can't even associate with this nigga. I gotta get on that phone call. I gotta put me a hit in there. I gotta put me a hit in there. Hey, well, shit. Thugger's home. Let me see what Thugger Daily got to say. Refresh this. Breaking news, Thug is going home today. 15 years probation. Banned from Metro Atlanta. Has to do 4 presentation concerts a year against gang violence or against anti-weapons also. Can travel for work to make music also. Everything he does, it has to be for business. No contact with gang members or co-defendants except for his brother and Gunna. Cannot promote gangs in any way. He also can't do any gang signs. Can't do anything on there. Slat, baby. You talking about we even get 4 concerts. Nigga, you don't get 4 concerts. The kids get 4 concerts a year. All right, let's see what else. Thugger. Full sentencing. The judge saw through the state's games and ruled that Thug is not a danger. Well, they didn't see through the game because the 15 years probation is what they offered in the beginning. Initially, it was 15 years probation, but Thug had to say. So now, like, all right, if we're going to be honest, everything that just happened today was really a waste of time. This is the same exact thing that happened. The state initially offered go home today, 15 years probation. You just got to say that YSL, I think he had to testify also. But you had to say YSL is a gang. Now you're saying, well, you know, I got to do anti-gang shit and I got 15 years pro. It's really the same shit, man. You could have just, all of it would have been the same. He just ain't testifying. So Thugger, all right, you got it. Well, he can't call T.I. Well, T.I.'s a felon. He can't talk to T.I. T.I.'s a felon. He can't talk to T.I., but he can take T.I.'s route. Remember, they used to clown T.I. for that damn. So when Thug was, hold on, before we get to T.I., when Thug was talking about his kids, this is his kids right here.
shot in your face. I smoke dead dogs all day to the face. I'm smoking on high, got shot in the face. Hey, Lodi, you keep switching games, you a lame. And Billy, your son, D, he changed. Billy, a rat, he keep leaving state. And Zonny getting whacked, can't leave that way. None get smoke right here to the face. The gang gon' never gon' change. None got smoke right here to the face.
These are the kids. These are the kids Young Thug was talking about. Like, yeah, man, you know how my kids, I tell them to go be a lawyer, don't be a rapper like me. Whole time they on the internet. But she so this is the T.I. Crime Stoppers video. This is what Young Thug gonna have to do.
Hey, what's happening, y'all? Some people call me Tip, but this is about another kind of tip that can help our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, and our fathers help get the perpetrators who commit crimes against them off the streets. All you got to do is call Crime Stoppers Atlanta. Tips can be anonymous, and there's even a reward. The number to Crime Stoppers Atlanta is 404-577-8477. That's 404-577-TIPS.
Oh man, we see that's the thing about fans. We greedy, we selfish. Ain't no one trying to listen to Young Thug talk about go to school, get an education. Ain't no one trying to hear that shit. We want Thugger. Who they want? Thugger. You know what I'm saying? Who they came to see? Easy. You know what I'm saying? Because Easy does it. Now we gotta listen to Thug. We gotta listen to Thug talk about don't skip school, go to work, show up on time. Ain't nobody trying to hear that Young Thug bullshit. Thug can't talk about gang shit. He can't wipe a nigga nose no more. Damn, man. This ain't Young Thug. This ain't Young Thug. This is older gentleman. We got older gentlemen now. He went to jail a young thug and he came out an older gentleman. Oh, man. Oh, they didn't got rid of Young Thug, man. What? Oh, man, don't tell me Atlanta out here going out like this. Oh, man. And we found out through his lawyer that Young Thug, this whole time we've been believing that Young Thug was that guy. Young Thug was really slime life. The whole time this nigga was telling his whole crew to go snitch. Oh my goodness. We've been talking about Woody and them the whole time. Young Thug been telling niggas to go snitch. The whole time Young Thug actually is Batman. Hey, you guys have been with a prostitute and robbed her. Take that money back to that prostitute. This whole time I've been bamboozled. I might have to put a lawsuit in against Jeffrey Williams because I was believing all the lyrics. It turns out that Young Thug is a fraud. This whole time we've been listening, he wasn't really living that lifestyle. Oh, man. I know we joking around, but the nigga's free. We get to joke around now. Damn, man. Old Gentleman is out, man. We had Young Thug, now we got Old Gentleman. He got to change his name from Young Thug to Jeffrey. Mr. Jeffrey. We got to call him Mr. Jeffrey now. Because the guy seen on up there talking to the judge with the tears in his eye, choking up. Yeah, that. Oh, goddamn. I don't want to hear no more tough talk from Thugger. Damn, man, they just. If you were over here, Why He Hoop is in here. Why He Hoop, my dog Trill is in here. Let me tell you something. 2014, 2013 to like 17, when Young Thug was out while we was over here, man, it was the time. Baby, pass me the hookah. Baby, pass me the hookah. Hold on. All right. Damn. All right, well, Thugger's home. You know, like Eric said earlier, and I was thinking it too. Like, if Young Thug takes a plea, not watching them other niggas. The only reason we watched the plea deals on Tuesday and Wednesday is because we thought Young Thug was going to take one. Those other two niggas that are still on trial, DeMonte Kendrick, Yak Gotti, and Shannon Stillwell, SB, let me tell y'all something. Them niggas is about to rot in jail. Thug can't even talk to them. Thug can't communicate. He can't do nothing for them. It's over with for them. They about to go down for that murder. They're done. They're cooked. We're not even going to watch the trial. And guess what? I'm not even going to update you guys because I don't give a fuck. Them niggas is done. And guess what? Thug don't care either because he can't even talk to the niggas. He go, what? They got like, damn, oh well. Oh well. At this point, you might as well get on there and say Young Thug told you to do this shit. Young, get up there. Young Thug told me to do it. Young Thug done already pled guilty to this shit. You can't bring him back up now. Thug can't. Hey, Thug did it. Thug told me, can y'all take some time off? Hell no, nigga. You should have took your plea when we offered both of you niggas a plea. I said it on Tuesday. I said, man, I'd be mad if I was Moontoon and I held it down for Thug and had to go do my time. And Thug got goddamn plead out and got to go home. Boy, I'm telling you, man, this is why you can't fuck with these niggas, man. Matter of fact, let me go try to find that, man, because I had a feeling. I said, man, if they let Thug go home and I had to go do the rest of my time in jail, oh, man, oh, hell no. Thugger can't do nothing. The guys that got the Quay, they got the 20 years served 7. When you get out, Thug can't even help you. You held it down. The other Quay, well, what's the name? Got 10 years. Oh yeah, the other Quay that got the 9 years. When you get out, Thug can't do nothing for you. Y'all niggas held it down. Now, when you get out and you on your probation, finishing your 11 and your 13, Thug, he gonna be knocking out. He got 5 years, 15 on probation. Y'all niggas got to do, well, one of them said 9 months. So Thug will be knocking out 1 year probation. Thug will have 14 years left. You'll be starting your 13. The other guy got 9 years, so he'll probably do 2 years. When he get out, he'll probably be down to about, he'll be starting his, 11 years probation. So he'll be around the same time as y'all, but y'all niggas can't be around each other. Y'all got to get regular jobs. Young Thug gets to go back to his rap career. Y'all should have told Thug to put y'all on contract with YSL. At least y'all niggas is running around on this internship. Y'all should have been on contract. If y'all were on contract, guess what? Just like Gunna, who took a plea, who told on Thugger, he gets to be around goddamn Young Thug. Y'all niggas got to get regular jobs, man. The only people that lose in these situations is always the small guy. It's always the small guy. Damn, that's fucked up. Niggas is holding down. Give me that plea. Shit, you should have took that plea and told on Thug or told on one of them other bodies y'all knew about. Now y'all niggas got to do real time. Well, one of them, the first Quay, he got 9 months and then he could potentially get out. The second Quay, he's gonna have to do at least 2 years because he got a 9-year sentence. Thugger, he went home, 15 years probation, can't drink. Well, he could probably drink. I don't think he could smoke. No, she said drug tested, so he can't smoke, can't be around that codeine. He didn't gain 75 pounds. He gonna have to get on that Gunna diet, but he can't be around Gunna because Gunna smokes. And if you got that in your system, which stays in there for 7 days, she did say that they can search you whenever they want to. So, God, man, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, like for us, probation would be all right. Like, look what I do. I come straight home. I go to work. I come home. My probation would be A-okay. But you can't. You gotta go on the road. You gotta do shows with niggas. You know what I mean? So that means Thug gonna be. He can't be around my dog Future because you know my dog Future be smoking. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He can't be around felons. Can't be around gang members. So even if I don't think Little Baby's a felon, but he can't be around that nigga because he's a documented gang member. Damn. Yeah, he can only work with Gunna. The crazy thing is, Gunna was ratting, and now Gunna's the only nigga he can work with. Oh, nah, little baby walking around with a gun. I don't think. Remember, Thug cannot be around guns. He can only be around licensed security. So that means any random niggas that got guns around, he can be around guns. Oh, man. Yeah, it's only 2 dudes left on trial now. I mean, they're gonna have to figure that shit out. Nah, see, the difference between Young Thug's trial and Dirk's, Dirk got picked up for murder for hire. Thug was never on the murder. They just had him on the RICO and gang activity. Dirk's trial is a whole different ball game right there. They got like legitimate that's the feds. That ain't these people. Now, in the state's defense, this was a speedy trial. So for them to try to put this whole trial together against 16 people, I mean, that's going to be tough, but shit, fuck it. You got to do what you got to do. They tried to get him with that 45, but yeah. And the thing is, another thing, Dirk's crimes are from 2022. Young Thug only pled guilty to the new shit for when he got arrested. But all of this shit goes back to 2014, where they can say, where you heard Steele say, well, we never identified if that was Young Thug's phone or not. You see what I'm saying? And Young Thug, I mean, Steele actually messed up, but I think the judge, because they all said, you know, obviously a judge used to be a lawyer. Steele was the top lawyer in there. Even though she's a judge, there's more money as being a defense attorney than it is being a judge. I think she made like 140. He's making $1 million almost a year just off of this one case. But she didn't want to deal with him no more. So that's why she was just like, fuck it. Let's get this shit about the court. But what Dirk got going on? No. They know everything. They know everything with him. That's different. And you got to look at it like with the feds, you got one person working that case. So whoever's working that case, they've been working that case for years. With this state shit, when you work for the district attorney's office, you just take whatever case they assign to you. It's not like, okay, we've been building this case. I've been working this case before it even got brought to trial. It's like, no, all right, well, there's a RICO going on. Mo, you got the RICO. Wait, why I gotta do the RICO? Like me, I'd be in there. I'd tell them straight up, I can't do the RICO. First of all, I'm not trying to be in the courtroom that long anyway. But they just randomly assign niggas. All right, hey, you up for this RICO? What you got on it? Shit, how many people is it, man? Look, all right, we got it's 28 total. 16 of them playing out. We got to take this shit to trial. You got the best lawyers in Georgia. You're just gonna be you against them, all of them. Let's see what else they got. Yeah, well, that's over with. Where's the other lady here? Crime Stoppers. Hey, this is an iconic picture of Thugger right here. Thug. Hey, to be honest with you though, I think we can all come to an agreement here. Sometimes putting niggas in jail will change their life. Sometimes locking a nigga up will change their lives. Listening to Thug up there, we've never seen this side of Young Thug. So to me, that shit was funny because it's like I know he's fighting for his life, but you can't be mad at me and laughing at this nigga for fighting for his life because you pled guilty to this shit. I personally don't give a damn, but you did this shit. I didn't commit. I did my time, did my crimes, and all my shit got dismissed. But seeing this side of Young Thug, it just makes you look at him like, man, when I listen to your music now, you're like, all right, man. I mean, even though, you know what I'm saying, we know the Young Thug allegedly, because now he free, allegedly was a stepper. He did have that machine gun in the house. They dropped the machine gun. But we got to see if the feds are going to do anything because remember, they dropped the gun, they dropped the gun, they dropped the gang, and they dropped the RICO. So we're going to see. The fuck? Oh, I was about to look up the reporter. And I didn't even know you could use a no-low plea. So in the state of Georgia, if you're about to get your license suspended, you can use the no-low plea, and you can use the no-low plea once every 5 years in the state of Georgia. I was looking that up. Watch this shit. So if you in Georgia, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a doctor. No-low pleas can also be used to avoid license suspension for the following offenses once every 5 years. So if you get pulled over in Georgia and you ain't got no insurance or driving on a suspended license, driving with suspended registration, you can enter a no-low plea every 5 years. Now, this is according to GeorgiaCriminalLawyer.com. I don't know who Lawson and Barry is, but hey, if you ever get pulled over, in Georgia, I like to do a no-low plea. You could do it once every 5 years. However, if you've already used a no-low plea in the past 5 years and you choose to plea no-low again, DDS will consider the second plea a guilty plea, and points will be assessed on your license. All right. So shit. Let me go on down there with no driver's license or with a suspended license. Cool. But happy Halloween to all. Trial continues Monday. All right, hold on. We got an update. Are we covering this? Trial continues Monday at 9 a.m. for Thugs co-defendants Yak Gotti and Shannon, who rejected all pleas. Yes, I will continue to keep up with them and continue to be on the state's ass for lying and cheating, like with Thug, their lawyers, Max Goodard and Doug Weinstein. Banned from Metro Atlanta. You said they going at academics. You spent the last 2 years saying Thug is going to be in prison forever. We're not going to let Thug forget. Thug can't, even if Thug don't forget, Thug can't do anything. You know, like if Thug says anything threatening, it's over with. So now he's not in prison for life, but shit, that probation is 15 years, man. One hiccup. Hopefully he can do right. What I say is you got to hire a driver. You can't go nowhere. You got to hire a driver, have 2 armed guards with you. Yeah, you have to move like the president now, man. You can't afford nothing. You got to be an SUV. You got to have an armed guard in one. But I don't think anyone's gonna fuck with Thug now. Like he ain't gonna be. Lucci ain't doing shit. Thug ain't doing nothing. Them niggas is happy to be out. So the streets of Atlanta are what they were asking for. The streets of Atlanta are a little bit safer. I really do believe Thug is going to change up and probably try to, of course, the rappers and shit, he ain't going to be able to make a difference with them, but hopefully them niggas is seeing what happened to him, Lucci, Dirt. Like, hopefully they're looking at all this and they are changing shit. I know Lil Baby has been moving a little bit different, but the streets of Atlanta are a little bit safer. But Thug is 33, so shit, it better be. Young Thug's lawyer took the Young Thug lawyer took the most big balls gamble in history today by rejecting the state plea offer and leaving it up to the judge. Some of us started getting nervous. Brian's still going down in the books. Shit, they got rid of that damn RICO in the gang. That was shit. Everything else is just gonna be a little 5-piece anyway. Operation Free Thug status complete pending the YSL. Mr. Wood, there we go. Mr. Williams, that's what we gotta call him. Hey, that's a dope ass poster though, for real. Might frame that up on the wall. Thugger going R&B. I can see Thugger singing. What do you think his first song is gonna be? He gotta drop. I wouldn't say a first day out because he really can't talk about too much shit. I mean, he could talk about like the time he had in jail, but his first song is gonna be some inspirational shit. You know what I mean? And then you gotta bust him over the head with a song with Gunna. You and Gunna gotta drop a dual tape by the end of the year. We need that Christmas Day special. No, we need that Thanksgiving. We need that Jeffrey Williams Thanksgiving special with Gunna and on tour come January 1st. Y'all need to be hitting the road. We got money to make up. We got to get on this road. We got a lot of shit to do now. We got to do our first anti-gun rally on Christmas. We're gonna do the first one, Your Honor. And if you don't mind, can I go into Metro Atlanta and do a show in the Mercedes Benz? Because I ain't been there in a while, ma'am. Can I get? Oh, I got to talk to my probation officer. Okay, cool. Yeah. We need that Thanksgiving Day special. We need that Christmas package. Pause on the package, but we need that Christmas Day gift. The Thugger and Gunna back at it. Thugger and Gunna again. We need to see him and Gunna hug each other and forgive each other for all the bullshit that they put each other through. We're older now. We sat down as men. Business is business. Y'all thought I was gonna say slat, but I can't say slat. So it's real love. It ain't slime love anymore. It's real love. Okay. So y'all thought he was gonna say slat. Call Metro Boom. Metro Boomin got a case right now, a civil case, but it looks like his lawyer is about to fight that. But yeah, call up Metro. Future already sent his shit over. Future already got 2 or 3 tracks. That's Future. That's the best nigga in Atlanta. Future already got 2, 3 tracks sent over, waiting for Thugger just to jump on. Pause. Damn. But Thugger he's a felon now. He's a convicted felon now. That plea deal got my dog, man. Just in 2 days, 3 days, we got down 3 pages of notes. 5 years time served, 40 years total, 15 years probation. All we got to do is make 15 years and that 40 is gone, man. 40 is gone. So what we going to do in these next 15 years? We going to figure it out. We gonna figure it out, guys. We gonna figure it out, man. 3 hours. 3 hours, Thugger's home. Well, hopefully we can get that. Let me go see what what the streets are saying. Thug sentenced to 40 years, 5 in prison. Time served, will serve the rest on probation. $40 years to serve 5, but commuted time sentence. 15 years probation, backloaded 20 years, which would be served in custody if he doesn't complete the probation. God damn, boy, that's a lot. Look at academics. Thug going home. What? Come on, Trump. I guess we back for election now. Donald Trump files $10 billion lawsuit against CBS News, claims deceptive doctrine of Kamala Harris's 60-minute interview. Nigga. Banned from Metro Atlanta. We already went over all of that. Cannot promote gangs in any way. Welcome home, Thugger. King Slime. Yeah, I guess that's about it, man. Oh, Mariah the Scientist. I was just about to DM her too, man. I was just, as soon as they would have said he got to stay in there for, I was about to DM her. She said, thank God. All right, man. Let me see if they got anything else. We get ready to get out of here, man. Tomorrow I might be on tomorrow night, but it'll probably be around 5 or 6 East Coast, because I got to pick my brother up, so that I got to go out there about 7. I'll be back around here maybe 9. So I'll probably do a live around midnight my time. My brother will be here. We're gonna get up Saturday. We got to go do some shit. But I'm gonna try to do a live tomorrow night. I didn't know that they were gonna do this. My internet was down earlier, so as soon as I got up, I seen that they were about to go live, so we did this, and then we got on here. So y'all hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to my other channel, it's pinned in the chat. The more you know. We're definitely not going to cover this case anymore. We don't care about the other guys. Thugger's home. Hey, man. Brian Steele worked the 2 meal. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man. Thanks for watching. I'm out.
High.